And once again, good morning and welcome to the Committees on Sanitation jointly with Public Housing. At this time, we ask if you could please silence or vibrate your phone, and we are ready to begin.
Good morning. This hearing is coming to order. Good morning, and thank you for coming to today's joint hearing by the Committee on Public Housing and the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. I am Councilmember Alexa Aviles, and I am the chair of the Public Housing Committee. I would like to thank my colleague, Councilmember Nurse, for co-chairing this hearing today. We are being joined by Councilmember Abreu, Councilmember Osei, Councilmember Williams. Is there anyone else online? Okay, at this point, thank you, colleagues, for being here today. The purpose of today's hearing is to closely examine issues relating to sanitation, waste management, and pest control across NYCHA's portfolio. NYCHA is home to over 339,000 authorized residents in traditional public housing.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. With a mandate to provide decent, affordable housing for low and moderate income New Yorkers. When we say decent housing, that means housing that is clean with an effective system for storing and removing trash. That means housing that is free of rats, roaches, and other pests, free from health hazards and these kinds of conditions that are present. This is the bare minimum for any person to live with dignity, and certainly for our city's NYCHA residents. But NYCHA hasn't always met its obligations on this front. I don't need to get into the horrifying details. We all know that NYCHA has long struggled to get a handle on infestation of pets to manage large volumes of waste. In Red Hook houses within my district, residents have had to sue NYCHA for compactors that were filled with trash for months on end. It's very common to see mops and brooms that residents purchase out of their own pocket and clean hallways to ensure that they are living in dignified spaces. And of course, we will talk about the rat bonanza festivities that happen with trash that is on the curb, waiting to be collected for what sometimes feels like years on end. These problems are part of why a federal monitor had to step in and why oversight by this council is so critical. In January of 2021, NYCHA released its Pest and Waste Management Action Plan, which was approved by the federal monitor. About a year ago, this committee held a hearing to explore the details of that plan and to interrogate NYCHA on its implementation efforts. Now, a year later, this committee is ready for updates to the questions we asked then and to see what progress NYCHA has made in getting their developments closer to the standards of livability that residents deserve. This year, we are also joined by the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management, with the hope that this will provide even greater clarity on the coordination of waste management efforts between NYCHA and DSNY. NYCHA has reported a very productive relationship with the agency, which we are heartened to hear, and we know that there has been much work, and we are intending to dive more deeply. However, I must put it on the record that it is imperative that all city agencies remember that public housing residents are New York City taxpayers and are due full scope of quality services, and not skirt their responsibility and solely leave it to NYCHA to provide those services. So within that vein, I'm happy to be here today to dig into these issues that are so important to public housing residents. And with that, I will turn it over to my co-chair, Councilmember Nurse, for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Chair Alexa. And thank you, Councilmember Diana Ayala, for joining us. You're helping us reach our quorum today. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for committee members. Thank you to NYCHA, DSNY, and the Department of Health representatives and leadership for joining us here today. Today is our first joint hearing for the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management and the Committee on Public Housing, focused on sanitation at NYCHA, as well as growing rat issues New Yorkers are facing. I'd like to give a special thanks to Public Housing Chair, Councilmember Alexa Aviles, for partnering with me on these issues. For years, our public housing residents have had subpar waste management systems, coupled with constant rodent infestations. I won't rehash all the testimony that Councilmember Aviles put out. But as NYCHA moves to private management, the lines of accountability have become even more unclear than they were in the past. Our public housing residents deserve clean developments and to participate in our city's zero waste programs. We hope to get clear answers from NYCHA on their concrete plans to improve sanitation for public housing. Some particular areas I'm interested in are PACT, NYCHA and 311, and really just trying to open up to understand and get on the record who is responsible ultimately for some of these decisions, particularly when it comes to dealing with private management companies at NYCHA and their relationship to council members and the Department of Sanitation, since many members have expressed a lot of frustration in trying to figure out who ultimately is the person we can speak to on these issues. We have also heard New Yorkers don't feel safe when their trash piles up on the streets and rats rip through the garbage. It's really clear that the city is experiencing a problematic growth in rat issues. And so to address this, over the past few weeks, I have co-primed various rat mitigation bills with council members Chi Osei, council member Eric Botcher, and council member Sean Abreu to help address the exploding rat problem in New York City. So this hearing also, in addition to being an oversight, does have 4 bills that will be heard. These bills include Intro 414. The bill would require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to issue an annual report on the success of rat mitigation measures in rat mitigation zones. Additionally, the department would report on the metrics that are being used to create or eliminate rat mitigation zones. Intro 442, this bill would mandate that before a permit authorizing certain building alterations in a rat mitigation zone, the applicant must demonstrate that rat mitigation measures have been taken. Intro 459, this bill would allow for the designation of rat mitigation zones by the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. And Intro 460, the bill would require trash receptacles in buildings identified as having a high concentration of repeated rodent infestation to be made of a material or design to minimize rodent infestation. Collectively, this is the Rat Action Plan. So today we will hear testimony from NYCHA community leaders, city residents, and advocates on the extraordinary need for protecting and expanding vital sanitation services for NYCHA residents and impacted neighborhoods across the city. We hope the testimonies here today will support the need to advance more equitable and urgent sanitation operations. I want to thank everybody, my team, Manel Hernandez, Mohammed Khan, Ryan Hickey for their hard work. Also, as usual, want to thank Jessica Albin, John Seltzer, and Ricky Chawla for supporting me as chair, and thank you to all New Yorkers who are joining today. So before we get into questions, we're going to turn it over to Councilmember Abreu, followed by Councilmember Chi Osei to discuss or testify on their bills.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Nurse and Aviles. Today, I'm thrilled to be speaking at this committee meeting in support of introductions 459 and 460. Together, these bills seek to introduce a more aggressive rat mitigation strategy in New York. Introduction 459 will allow for the designation of rat mitigation zones by DOH-MH and will ensure that trash is being stored properly and collected in a timely manner between the hours of 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. Introduction 460 will require trash receptacles in buildings with a high concentration of rats be made of a material or design that keeps food inaccessible to rats. Rat infestations are a huge quality of life issue, but they also pose health risks as well. Rat populations have surged in large part due to the pandemic, but as we try to work towards a new normal, there has to be tangible actions to mitigate this issue. Last year, complaints of rat sightings were up more than 2/3 compared to the same period prior to the pandemic. That trend is continuing this year. Rodent problems especially worsened during the summer months, and so we are paying attention. It is therefore essential to act now and find solutions to this problem before it gets worse. I am grateful for having this opportunity to present these 2 bills before this committee, as well as for the support received from my colleagues on this very relevant issue for the city. I am deeply thankful to Chair Nurse and Councilmember Botcher for their support of this attempt to try to curb the rodent population of New York City and secure a healthier and cleaner city for all. I'm also in support of my colleague Chi Osei's bills as well that speak to rat mitigation issues. Thank you so much, Chair. looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Councilmember Osei.
Well, Councilmember Abreu stole the words out of my mouth in regards to rats. Happy Tuesday, good morning. We're talking about rodents. Rats are a huge public health and sanitation crisis in our city. Rats are not only an unpleasant sight and nuisance, but they bring serious health risks to our neighborhoods. Carrying a wealth of diseases and parasites, last year, 13 New Yorkers were hospitalized with this disease that I can't pronounce, a kidney and liver disease spread by rats. And the pandemic has only exacerbated this crisis. In 2021, complaints of rat sightings were up more than 2/3 compared to 2019. Despite the de Blasio administration's efforts to tackle the rat crisis, the pause in rat mitigation efforts during COVID and previous cuts to the Department of Sanitation resulted in this increase of rodents in our city. The neighborhoods that bear the brunt of this rodent crisis are predominantly black and brown neighborhoods, like the one I represent in Bed-Stuy, and it is predominantly black and brown public housing residents that have to deal with a rodent issue in their homes. And our communities deserve to have clean and healthy streets free from such pests. Now that the council has restored funds back into rat mitigation efforts, it is not only crucial to back the rat mitigation program in full force, but to ensure that the council has enough information and transparency on how effective this program is. Today, I'm excited that we, as the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management, are holding a hearing on my bill, one I'm reintroducing on behalf of Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, Intro 414, a bill that will require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to ensure an annual report on the success of rat mitigation measures in rat mitigation zones. When we, as the council, have access to annual reports on rat mitigation measures, we are able to gain a full picture of how well the city is tackling the rodent crisis, and we can determine what further steps we will need to take it to do better. In our communities, especially our black and brown communities who have seen nothing but underinvestment from our city, deserve better. I'd like to thank Borough President Reynoso for his work and support on the bill, and I'd like to thank Chair Nurse for holding this hearing and for being a co-prime sponsor on Intro 414. I urge the council to pass this crucial bill as soon as possible to ensure that every New Yorker has clean streets and neighborhoods they can live and thrive in, and I'm so excited to be working alongside my colleagues, Councilmember Abreu, Councilmember Bottcher, and Councilmember Nurse on taking a firm stance against our furry friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Members Abreu and Osei. Very excited to be working with you on this rat action plan. We're taking on New York rats. No simple task. So now we're going to hand it back over to Councilmember Aviles.
Thank you. We will now turn to testimony from the administration, which today is represented by Vlada Kenneth, Keith Grossman, Alfred Ferguson, Josephine Bartlett, Corinne Schiff, Greg Anderson, and Guillermo Patino. I will now administer the oath, and I will call each of you by name. Once I call your name, please speak into the microphone your affirmation. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth?
Couldn't hear you, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me a little better now?
Better, thank you.
Great, thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Greg Anderson? Corinne Schiff? Josephine Bartlett? Alfred Ferguson? Keith Grossman?
I do.
Vlada Kenneth?
I do.
And Guillermo Patino. Thank you. You may begin when ready.
Thank you. You can hear me okay? I have a lot. I have
We've
I'll probably overspeak the microphone a little bit, so.
It's okay. Louder is always better. We've had, the last hearing we had, people couldn't hear online, so just
Okay.
feel free to
Whatever.
go in.
Yeah, Lincoln Center. Got it, all right. Chairs Alexa Aviles and Sandy Nurse, members of the committees on public housing and sanitation and solid waste management, other distinguished members of the City Council, NYCHA residents, and members of the public, good morning. I am Keith Grossman, NYCHA's Senior Vice President for Operation Support Services. Joining me are Vlada Kenneth, Vice President for Sustainability, Josephine Bartlett, Senior Director of Pest Control, and Al Ferguson, Senior Director of Waste Management. We are pleased to have our partners at the New York City Department of Sanitation with us today as well. Our colleagues from the Health Department, excuse me, are also with us to discuss Intro 414 pertaining to reporting on rat mitigation zones. The administration supports the intent of this bill and looks forward to working with the council to align this with available data. I joined NYCHA this April from the New York City Department of Education, where I oversaw the emergency management program and the accessibility remediation program for all of DOE's approximately 1,900 schools. Before that, I was the Director of Emergency Management and Safety at Brookdale University Hospital and Medical Center. It is an honor to bring my passion for managing complex organizations, complex operations, and vital services to the NYCHA community. Thank you for this opportunity to discuss the authority's progress in improving the quality of life for residents through better waste management and pest control. We know how impactful these areas are for NYCHA residents, and making sure that our buildings and grounds are clean and pest-free as possible is one of our top priorities. We have made significant changes to ensure that our waste management and pest control methods are comprehensive, modern, and effective, and we continue to apply the latest technologies and strategies to further our work in service to residents. Organizational improvements. For instance, after an extensive analysis, NYCHA divided waste management and pest control into two separate departments, which are now under the oversight of the new Operation Support Services Division. This separation allows us to have better control over all pest and waste remediations throughout NYCHA's portfolio. We also implemented IT enhancements that facilitate our work, and we trained our staff on integrated pest management, or IPM. In the past few years, we added a number of exterminators to our team, meaning that we now have a total of 124 exterminators who work hard to provide safe and clean homes, buildings, and grounds for residents. We also increased our caretaker staff who help keep our buildings and grounds clean, bringing the total number of caretakers to nearly 4,500. NYCHA's action plan on Pest and Waste, not Paste and West, sorry. Under the leadership of Chair Greg Russ, and in accordance with the 2019 HUD agreement, we are transforming our organization to improve how we provide services to residents, and we are making the investments necessary for success. The federal monitor, Bart Schwartz, approved our Pest and Waste Management Action Plan in January of 2021. The action plan is our roadmap for more effective waste management and pest control. It is centered around the use of IPM and development-specific waste management plans for every NYCHA property, and it is supported by capital upgrades and new approaches to pest and waste management. A key focus of the action plan involves improving the way NYCHA collects, stores, and removes waste to meet our goal to remove or store all waste in sealed, rodent-resistant containers every 24 hours. This is critical because better waste management means fewer pests, as we're eliminating their habits and sources of food. Today, I'll go into detail about some of the waste infrastructure upgrades and programmatic improvements that are enabling us to deliver better for residents. Combating pests and waste through sustainable improvements. I'm gonna get that right before the end of this, I promise. Infrastructure upgrades. NYCHA's current waste infrastructure, which handles over 200 tons of waste every year, is outdated. Since NYCHA's developments were built, the amount of waste generated by Americans has tripled. At the same time, NYCHA's infrastructure hasn't received the investments it's needed to keep up with the increase. In fact, more than 90% of our waste assets are past their life cycle and need immediate replacement. The Federal Monitor approved NYCHA City Capital Action Plan last year, which unlocks over $563 million in funding to help the authority fully upgrade and modernize its waste infrastructure. That's coupled with an investment of $56 million towards the city's neighborhood rat reduction program, which has enabled us to accomplish the following: install larger trash chute doors that can accommodate a standard 13-gallon tall kitchen garbage bag on the first level of 60 developments, which helps residents dispose of trash properly. Install new interior trash compactors at 51 developments, exterior compactors at 18 developments, 5 bulk crushers, and 39 cardboard compacting baling machines, all of which enable us to manage waste more effectively and efficiently. Install over 8,000 door sweeps and seal over 600 window wells to prevent pests from getting into our buildings, and install 27 of 50 identified rat slabs that eliminate places for rodents to live, eat, and breed by replacing the original dirt basement floor with concrete. With this total funding of more than $619 million, we'll be able to replace aging waste, recycling, and bulk waste equipment across 194 developments. The procurement process is currently underway for the next round of projects at 64 developments. In 2019, the authority released the NYCHA 2.0 Waste Management Plan, a comprehensive set of strategies for delivering state-of-the-art infrastructure and providing residents with convenient locations for disposing recyclables and food waste, all to greatly reduce pests and make our developments cleaner. To advance the waste management plan, last year we released requests for proposals for the redesign of 7 waste yards and for new pneumatic waste collection systems at Polo Grounds Towers and Wrangle Houses. We expect to finish design and start construction on these projects this year. By 2028, a complete overhaul of the waste yards at up to 194 developments will be underway. The new waste yards will feature more operational functionality for staff, recycling infrastructure, and reliable compactors, making waste handling more efficient and benefiting residents' quality of life. The new waste yards will also incorporate resident feedback in their design and will be more aesthetically pleasing. The pneumatic waste collection system at Polo Grounds and Wrangle Houses will transport waste underground from each building to a centralized facility where it will be compacted in sealed, pest-resistant containers. The new system will reduce the labor involved with transporting waste and minimize pests. Innovative and sustainable initiatives. We are also implementing programmatic improvements. For example, our Clean Curbs for All initiative with the Sanitation Department will pilot mechanically collected curbside containers for refuse and recyclables, resulting in more efficient waste collection and cleaner grounds. We expect to release a request for proposals by the end of the summer. We worked with the Sanitation Department to obtain a significant increase in the number of DSNY-funded container dump tickets. This enabled us to remove our over 15,000 additional tons of bulk waste from NYCHA developments in 2021. And we work with the carting vendors who currently service most of our bulk containers to increase frequency of bulk waste removal at our developments. To demonstrate the benefits of increased waste collection frequency at a small group of developments, we purchased 2 6-yard rear-loader compacting garbage trucks that can each hold approximately 3 tons of household refuse per load. These trucks are equipped with the latest Envision Zero safety designs, including 360-degree cameras for enhanced driver awareness, and have the latest in hybrid diesel and electric technology. NYCHA also worked with our Sanitation Department partners to develop a recycling reset pilot program in 2020 to improve recycling rates at 12 sites. Baruch and Baruch Addition, Bushwick, Highland, Butler, Marcy, Morris 1 and 2, Reese 1 and 2, Webster, and Morrisania. Several sites such as Baruch Houses and Reese Houses are recycling at record high rates. In September 2021, we rolled out the Recycle First initiative in Staten Island, a mindset change that prioritizes recycling when it comes to waste management operations. Working with DSNY and development staff, we improve recycling rates at all 10 Staten Island sites: Berry, Cassidy, Lafayette, Mariners Harbor, New Lane area, Richmond Terrace, South Beach, Stapleton, Todd Hill, West Brighton 1, and West Brighton 2. This May, we rolled out the initiative to Queens, at Queensbridge North, Queensbridge South, and Ravenswood. We are also working with DSNY to develop a caretaker's recycling guidebook that will facilitate our caretakers' management of recyclables. Informed by the Recycle First mindset, the guidebook will provide the reference point for all caretaker training on waste management operations. We are also developing a training that will inform staff about our sustainable waste management programs and infrastructure, such as cardboard balers and mattress recycling. We developed individual action plans that present short, medium, and long-term goals to improve waste management at each of our developments, such as additional monthly bulk tickets or expedited compactor replacement. All the plans are posted on our website. With the assistance of the Federal Monitor, we are finalizing a scorecard cleanliness rating system that identifies where we need to focus our resources at our developments. Last year, we launched NYC's first and only mattress recycling program. To date, we've recycled over 6,000 mattresses at 39 developments across all 5 boroughs. We work with DSNY to convert underused trash compactors into cardboard compactors at 3 developments, Marcy, Morris 1, and Queensbridge South, which collect cardboard from a total of 16 neighboring developments. More than 200 tons of cardboard have been recycled at these sites, and we're working with DSNY to expand the program. As outlined in NYCHA's 2021 sustainability agenda, the authority is committed to removing organic waste from household waste streams, eliminating food sources for pests, and diverting organic material from landfills. Our farms at NYCHA sites are helping to achieve these goals. Since 2016, our lead partner, Green City Force, has collected over 32,000 pounds or 16 tons of compostable food scraps from NYCHA residents. One Green City Force alum and former NYCHA resident, Domingo Morales, is working to expand composting at NYCHA developments through an initiative he started called Compost Power. In 2020, Compost Power organized composting at 5 NYCHA developments that can now process at least 50 tons of organic waste per year. Compost Power provides NYCHA residents with the opportunity to reduce waste from landfills while creating eco-friendly jobs. Additionally, DSNY placed a compost bin at Ravenswood houses. NYCHA and DSNY will engage residents for their input on where additional compost bins could be placed. Our waste management efforts are being carried out in partnership with residents and other stakeholders. For example, NYCHA is developing a campaign for a clean NYCHA to better communicate with and engage residents on proper waste management and recycling programs. The campaign was piloted at 5 developments last year. Pilot evaluation and the development of a rollout plan is underway. The campaign applies the tools of public awareness and behavior change to define and promote a positive waste culture at NYCHA. Thanks to the City Cleanup Corps initiative, we were able to hire more than 1,300 seasonal workers, of whom nearly half were NYCHA residents, to help keep our grounds, playgrounds, and buildings clean, and to assist with pest control. Over 400 of these workers were hired for permanent roles. Integrated Pest Management, or IPM, is the cornerstone of our new approach to pest management. IPM focuses on long-term sustainable solutions that target the underlying causes of pest infestations. Exterminators minimize pesticide use and focus on non-toxic pest control methods. They perform a thorough inspection, removing sources of food and water, sealing any points of entry through caulking and installation of escutcheon plates. We rolled out IPM authority-wide, incorporated IPM protocols into our IT systems, and issued updated procedures and guidance regarding IPM to our staff. We trained over 900 staff, exterminators, caretakers, and other property management staff on the fundamentals of IPM. We launched quarterly trainings on IPM topics, including trainings for new hires. Since education is an essential part of pest control, we provided residents with informative materials on pest prevention, such as handouts, rent inserts, and a comprehensive pest control NYCHA webpage. To aid our work, we also developed a model for tracking and measuring pest data. This involves determining an estimate of the pest population. To date, we've conducted nearly 2,100 inspections to establish this baseline. Our commitment to residents, in closing. While we acknowledge that more work needs to be done to provide residents with the homes they deserve, we are making progress toward becoming a better landlord through targeted investments with the limited resources we have, as well as innovative programs and strategies. By working together with residents, agency partners, and other stakeholders, we can continue to improve pest and waste management and make a difference for residents. Thank you for your support as we strive to improve residents' quality of life. We are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you so much for your testimony, and thank everyone for being here today. I failed to do that in my opening remarks. Before we begin questions, I'd like to acknowledge Councilmember Darlene Mealy. Thank you for joining us, and Councilmember Lincoln Ressler. Thank you for joining us. Anyone else? Oh, and Councilmember Ari Kagan, who is joining us online as well. So I guess as we jump into questions, in September 2021, the NYCHA Sustainability Agenda laid out a vision for addressing the climate crisis while also solving longstanding quality of life issues in NYCHA homes. Can you describe the agenda's vision and progress on revisioning waste management and recycling? And I understand some of that was encapsulated in your comments, but if you could just speak a little bit more towards that agenda.
Thank you, Chair Vilas. The Sustainability Agenda is a 5-year update to the original Sustainability Agenda, which committed to developing a comprehensive waste management plan in its original state and recommitted certain things we've been able to accomplish, like we did develop the comprehensive waste management plan, and allowed us to advocate for over $500 million in waste management funding that will replace critical systems that have not been replaced since the buildings have been built. And that was a baseline decision that we made at the time, that the building infrastructure that is in critical need of upgrading, as well as the outside exterior compactors, need to be upgraded. Those were targeted very heavily in the comprehensive plan. I am proud to say that that work is funded. The City Capital Action Plan was passed or approved in 2021 of March of last year. And we are on our way to issue the procurements and start the immense amount of capital work that is absolutely needed. My team, since we've accomplished this work, and again, we're very, very proud of being able to both advocate and receive and start this work on the capital side of things, has refocused, and that's the reason we have recommitted to certain things in the sustainability agenda, like focusing on the organics and the recycling infrastructure, like getting us to the zero waste vision. Are you able to hear me? Yeah. And so a lot of the work in the next iteration, and I hope in the next council hearings, will be focused on the sustainability aspect of the waste management infrastructure. We did feel that the baseline needed to be addressed, and that's why the capital work is absolutely necessary. When I first came to NYCHA 5 years ago, the thing that the residents, Karen Blondell in particular, would say to me is, waste is everywhere and it's disorganized, and we really needed to focus on the containerization. So now that that work is underway, we will be focusing more on the sustainability aspects of waste management.
Thank you so much. In terms of, could you talk a little bit about how the NYCHA Waste Management Plan 2.0 intersects with the Federal Monitor's strategic action plan?
Thank you, Chair. So the action plan was approved by the Federal Monitor, but it was actually written by us at NYCHA. They essentially approved our existing plan, which set some deadlines. for us. So basically, the waste management plan allows us to establish these individual action plans for each development, set positive norms like the campaign for a clean NYCHA, and encourages us to do outreach and educate our residents. It makes proper waste disposal more convenient, trash chutes, new collection technology, provision of receptacles, and improve our bulk waste collection and containerization. It reduces our landfill-bound trash by increasing diversion through recycling, and eliminates food and garbage through composting.
Thank you for those answers. We're gonna move to talk about some rat mitigation stuff because I know the DOH rep has to leave. So we wanna do that. We're just gonna ask a few questions, then we'll kick it over to other council members so you all can ask your questions, so you can go on with your day, and then we have a whole longer list. So we're gonna try to accommodate everybody. So just on rat mitigation, I just have like a series of kind of like shorter questions. Are NYCHA rat complaints recorded on the DOH-MIH rat information portal?
Thank you, Chair. We'll defer to our colleagues at the Department of Health.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Corinne Schiff. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Health at the Health Department. Thank you for inviting me. The rat information portal is part of the Health Department's commitment to transparency, and we hope that you consult it and share that with your constituents. What we offer there is information about our inspections.
So NYCHA rat complaints are recorded on it?
Complaints, citywide complaints are not on the portal. It is our inspection information is on our portal.
I'm sorry, I'm struggling a
I
little bit
can't
to
hear.
hear. This room is not set up for this
Yeah,
level of
Is this better
acoustics.
if I hold the mic closer?
Yes.
Is that better? The rat information portal has our inspection information, not complaint information.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, I'm just writing that. Can you describe what interventions were made at NYCHA developments within rat mitigation zones?
So the health department's role with respect to NYCHA, we're working very closely with NYCHA, particularly in the rat mitigation zones, but also in developments that are outside the mitigation zones. And our role has been to provide technical assistance to NYCHA, to do training for NYCHA, and we're also conducting surveys of rat conditions on NYCHA property and doing walkthroughs with NYCHA so that they can see what we're seeing and can target their mitigation strategies to those, to the areas that we identify for attention.
So for those trainings and surveys, is that, are training something that you do upon request? Is there like an annual calendar of trainings that you do? And then for surveys, roughly how many do you do per year?
The surveys are monthly. The trainings, I don't have a training schedule. My NYCHA colleagues may have the training schedule, but we've been doing training with their staff. And I just want to take the opportunity to note that our training program is available to all parts of the city, and we've worked with some of you already to offer our Rodent Academy to people in your districts, and we would be really happy to work with you to set up rodent academies. That's how we train property managers and city residents on best practices for pest control. And as part of the city's effort to get back to where we were in pre-pandemic days, where we had started to see real improvements in our rat control outcomes, we would really welcome the opportunity to work with you on rodent academies. But I don't have the actual training schedule with NYCHA. If NYCHA doesn't have it, we can get back to you with that.
Is it something that you do by request, or is it something you're mandated to do?
I don't think we're mandated to do the training. We are working very closely as agency colleagues. We are really the city's experts in integrated pest management and rat control measures, and we have been working closely with NYCHA and our other city colleagues to offer trainings to make sure that we're sharing that expertise. What I don't have is the exact schedule. If NYCHA doesn't have the exact schedule, we can get back to you with that.
That'd be great. And how does that work additionally with privately managed NYCHA developments?
I'm going to have to defer to NYCHA on how they're handling that when they switch over
It
to a
would be good
private
to know
management.
if residents have complaints at a privately managed NYCHA development and want DOH to come and get involved and help out. How can, who makes that call? Is it NYCHA? Is it the private management company communicates to NYCHA? Just to understand a little bit more the lines of responsibility for engaging DOH in that situation.
Thank you. So as far as RAD impact properties, we work through a transition with the private vendor that will take over the management of the property. There is a unit within NYCHA who provides oversight to that unit and escalation. There's an open line of communication between our operational resources and the private vendor. If there's any specific questions, we can take them back with us. Any specific questions regarding a specific property, we can take those back with us. We're happy to do so.
You wanna-
Does the compliance department provide regular updates to the waste management team around how the private managers are doing in terms of waste management practices?
So I know for non-RAD pack properties, I see those reports. I have to check on that answer and get back to you.
I guess,
Get the
yeah,
exact phrase.
in the specific context of RAD impact properties, I guess if the compliance team is, working with the private managers, I was wondering what the feedback loop was back to the larger waste management team, or if it just stays and gets mitigated within compliance.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, we work with them regularly. Before there's a handoff, we make sure that, specifically in response to, like our containerization, we'll pull our containers out, allow them to put their containers in. We'll make sure that they're providing enough containerization for their folks. And there is an open line of communication to our pest control and waste management experts at all times.
Just a few more on this, and I think I'll come back to follow up on that. So has DSNY provided additional trash pickup at NYCHA developments within rat mitigation zones? Sorry, there's not enough seats.
Good morning, council members, and for the record, Gregory Anderson, Deputy Commissioner at Sanitation. So we provide a substantial amount of collection to NYCHA properties. The majority of properties, especially larger campus-style properties, are containerized. So they have a regular trash collection cycle as well as on-call pickup whenever, if one of their local property managers or headquarters, these folks to my left, if they have an issue, they can escalate it to us and we'll provide a response within 24 hours. If one of those compactors goes down, we work with NYCHA to try to identify additional services that we can offer, whether that's providing additional service at a compactor that's nearby. They can go from, say, Queensbridge South to Queensbridge North, for example, or providing supplemental curbside service until that compactor is repaired. So we do provide additional service where it's warranted, not necessarily additional service in the rat mitigation zones specifically.
Okay. The Neighborhood Rat Reduction Program that began in 2017 with the goal to reduce the rat population by 70% at 110 sites within the rat mitigation zones. Could you give a brief overview of the program? And it would be great if you could talk about, if you've met or come close to the goals that were set. How much does it cost? And if you are considering expanding the program to other developments.
Yeah, thank you. So currently there are 101 developments in the NRR program. As of the end of May 2022, NYCHA has seen a 48% decrease in rat population at those developments that are currently, the 101 that are currently in there. I'll pass it to Vlada for any capital questions.
Maybe I'll have Josie quickly talk about the work that you've been doing while I look for the that.
You want to expand on the NRR?
Sure. Hi, I'm Josie Bartlett. I'm the Senior Director of Pest Control. So the 48%, we're working really hard on the neighborhood rat reduction sites. We have 31 dedicated exterminators that just do rats in grounds and basements. That's what they're dedicated on. But we also have a lot of support staff that are working on getting these numbers down. We have a burrow collapsing team that their whole job is to go around and collapse rat burrows. And this is very important because it disrupts where the rats are living. And I like to say that rats make 80 babies in a year, so if we can slow that down, it makes it better. So they collapse their holes, but also it's an important IPM method because they collapse about 6 to 7 days after the exterminator has treated. If the hole does not reopen, the exterminator knows that they don't need to put poison down into that hole, so it allows us to reduce our pesticide usage as well. We also have a team that we call the exclusion team. They're going around and they're putting wire lath on the window wells. Those are the kind of cement boxes that help our basements breathe, but also rats are able to sometimes squeeze down into the basements. We're putting wire lath over that so that they can't get in. The exclusion team is also putting wire lath in the ground around the foundations of the buildings and around the exterior compactors. You'll see it at Marcy, you'll see it at Mitchell, at your developments. So it makes it so that it's harder for the rat to come up, and again, we get to use less poison. We also, through the Clean Core program that Keith mentioned, we had seasonals that are doing a lot of the work that helps complement the extermination work. So they're scrubbing down compactors, so giving caretakers who do such a tremendous amount of work a lot of extra help, also doing a lot of the hard work of picking up dead rats, getting rid of rodent poop that attracts rodents back to spaces. So, and doing a little bit of trash policing, but also scrubbing down exterior trash bins where there's muck and stuff that rats are attracted to. So we have a lot of different ways. It's not just the exterminators, and the developments do a tremendous amount of work as well. To make it all work.
Did you all successfully install the 50 rat slabs across the 9 developments that were mentioned in the plan?
We have 27 that are done, and the
27
rest
are done.
are in progress.
And there's plans to do more this year?
Yes, that's right.
Do you know how many more this year will be done?
I will find out and get back to you.
Okay. My last question, I know we have a lot of members here, so I want to let them ask all the questions. Can you kind of give us a sense between 2019, 2020, 21? How many complaints did we get? Like, are we growing up? Are we going down? Are we steady? Just what's the percent decrease or increase of complaints over a 3-year period, the last 3 years?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Nurse. So Josie will give specifics, but I do want to say we've seen a decrease in resident complaints and an increase in exterminator-generated work orders, which is a demonstration of the culture change, right? It's every work order there's no closeout of an extermination complaint, right? There's consistent follow-ups and constant follow-ups. So the fact that we're seeing increased follow-ups is a positive sign, along with decreased resident complaints. Yeah, those, Josie? Yeah, those exact numbers.
I don't have the exact, but I know the ballpark.
We can give you approximate numbers, and we'll come back to you
Okay,
with
that would be great.
exact.
Yeah, so back in 2019, we were seeing month to month about 4,000 resident complaints. Right now, we are about 2,000 resident complaints per month. Obviously, in 2020, numbers were skewed.
Right. So in 2019, about 4,000 complaints a month. In last year, about 2,000 complaints a month. Okay. I'm gonna end my questions for now, but
Just a quick follow-up. In terms of complaints, are these complaints that are going directly to NYCHA, or these include 311 complaints?
This is straight to NYCHA, to our CCC. So when a resident calls in, a work order is created, and that's how we schedule the work and track the work and everything.
So this might not necessarily reflect all of the complaints that might be good, because some people who might do it through 311 and then they get cut off because they say, oh, actually you got to deal with NYCHA, and maybe they don't actually follow up. So it's not necessarily reflective of fully how many complaints there would be.
So I mean, I believe it is, right? There's multiple ways to make a complaint, and we look at that through the lens of work orders generated via a resident complaint, right? So however it comes in, we will generate a work order.
But you don't have a sense of how much 311
Oh,
data
the breakdown?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
And if I may, just one
Chair-
question.
So,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Chair Nurse, I just wanted to answer your question. The remaining 23 rat slabs will be finished this year. I got the answer.
Thank you. In terms of developments where there are significant construction, such as the resiliency project that is happening in Red Hook houses, are there special rat mitigation plans that are put in place in those circumstances?
Yeah, the contractor is required to have a pest plan. So every construction site has either, weekly, bi-weekly, twice a month. It depends on what's construction, and that's in their contract. And I know that is in the Red Hook construction plan, because I've seen it and I've requested to see their pesticide usage reports. So that's something that we can also do, and we do to QA when we see that rat populations that should be being treated by the contractor, subcontractor, whoever they're using for their pest control. If we see any spikes or whatever, we ask for the pesticide usage. We've done walkthroughs with the pest professional to make sure that it's in line with what we would do if we were in those construction areas as well.
Got it. We'll follow up more specifically later on. But I'd like to acknowledge Councilmember Eric Bottcher, Councilmember, oh my gosh, I was losing my mind. Councilmember Julie Menin, Councilmember Amanda Farias. I don't know if we have anybody else online. Thank you for joining us, council members. I guess with that, we can turn it over to council member questions. And first we'll have Councilmember Ayala. Did I recognize you, Councilmember Ayala? Thank you for being here.
Anybody here from pesticide? There's a big fly. Anybody can deal with that on staff? Might want to hire me. But I have a few questions, and I'll try to make it as quick as possible because I know that time is taking. One of the issues that I saw, and as part of the rat infestations in my district, was that many of our basements were not cemented; they were still dirt, and that contributed to serious rat infestations to the point that staff couldn't get into the basements. Do we know how many of those basements remain that way?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. So we completed 27 of the 50 identified, and we have 23 planned projects for this year. If you have a specific instance, I'm more than happy to follow up with you later on.
Okay, in regards, that's great. I mean, it's a problem. It's a huge problem, and I don't think that a lot of people knew or understood that was happening. In regards to the cleanup corps, I know that there's been a significant decrease in that program this year. How many developments were being serviced through staffing? I guess increases in developments through NYCHA.
I can speak about the Clean Core program for pest control. We had 100 Clean Core members, and this is a small fraction of what was given to all the developments, but we had 100 people, and they went to about 50 developments, but we have a program manager who was always shifting these individuals around depending on DOHMH borough counts, our own borough counts, where we saw, like in your development, we definitely had people at Mitchell, Johnson, Jefferson, Carver, Clinton. I mean, your developments have rat issues, and we made sure that the Clean Core members were there.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I think, you know, obviously I wanted to, you couldn't tell who was who, so I wasn't sure how many, you know, additional bodies we were able to get. Regarding so, you know, listen, this is very simple. The rats are there because there's food. You get rid of the food, you get rid of the garbage, you get rid of the rats. I have to be honest, I think in regards to the rat mitigation program, the team has been pretty good about following up and coming with us on tours of developments that we've identified. However, the shortfall, I believe, is in the cleanliness of the developments. They're just, you know, I can only speak to the ones that I see in my district. They're horribly, I mean, they're dirty. There's garbage everywhere. I was at Mitchell during the pandemic, and there was a rat sitting in front of the building eating an orange peel. Like, nothing happened. The door was open to the building. He could have easily gone in and out. There were, you know, he had many of his friends hanging out there as well. And this is a constant issue, but the garbage is a problem, and I'm not sure that we're ready to address that if we continue to see shortfalls in staffing at the developments. And as far as I know, we still haven't fully staffed up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We obviously agree and concur. Specifically, as it comes to removing food waste from our sites and the grounds, you know, as I was driving in today, I noticed that, you know, it's kind of that first Monday after the holiday, and while it wasn't in your district, I did notice a large number of groundskeepers really walking through the grounds, clearing up the grass, clearing up the exterior areas. But we do a lot of work on this, and if you have some specific sites, we'd be happy to do it. I'd like to have Al give you a little bit more broad spectrum rundown of that. Okay?
Sure.
Okay. Pass the mic.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Thank you. Cleanliness of developments is, you know, it's very, as you would imagine, it's very development specific. We have individual action plans. One of the things that has been done recently is the sunsetting of the AWS program, where, you know, which basically frees up more people on a daily basis. I've seen developments get cleaner, that definitely be cleaner. I know you have specific ones that I come from the Department of Sanitation. I spent 3 decades with the Department of Sanitation. I take my job very seriously, and I have to say that it's you know, it's still not to my standards. You know, things are still not to my standards. We've done so much. They've done Herculean tasks. I spent decades with the Department of Sanitation. I started out as a sanitation worker, worked my way up to 3-star chief of citywide collection, recycling, and containerization. Is one of the reasons they chose me to come, you know, to bring me over to NYCHA. And a lot of what Councilmember Aviles was mentioning about the past, and you were mentioning, Councilmember Nurse, about the past of NYCHA, that I've seen significant changes. What is being done here is groundbreaking. It was one of the things that really brought me here, is that they're truly trailblazing. I mean, they went down I know the book is quite long, the 2.0 plan management. If you read it cover to cover, you get a sense of that the problems were identified, residents were included. They did surveys with residents that complaining about litter and day-to-day conditions. and then the proposed solutions. And again, coming from a background that these solutions are excellent solutions.
I mean, I don't want to contradict what your interpretation of what you read was. However, it is very different from what I'm hearing and seeing on the ground. I'm not seeing much community engagement. I'm not seeing resident engagement at all. And I'm consistently hearing the feedback that I'm getting is that there aren't enough staff to clean these developments. I plan to visit within the next, 2 weeks. I plan to go around specifically to the ones in the Bronx. I will welcome you to visit Mitchell, Mott Haven, Patterson, Millbrook houses. They're disgusting and they're all rat infested. We tried through participatory budgeting and through my own capital funds to purchase rodent-proof receptacles to put in front of the buildings at the request of the residents, and we were not able to because OMB does not approve those as capital eligible. And NYCHA did push back on us being able to purchase them through our own discretionary funds for some reason or the other. I'm not sure, but I think that is the source of your problem. I really just wanted to share that. My last question is regarding, because we're talking a lot about rats in the exterior parts of the developments. I grew up in public housing, and I mean, it was unheard of to even have a mouse. It was unheard of. Everybody knew that if you lived in public housing, you had no mice. People have rats in their apartments now. That blows my mind. One of my residents was on the news the other day, I think Saturday, from Wagner Houses. Somebody came to her house, they left a big hole under the sink, and now she has rats in her apartment. How quickly are you addressing that? Because if I saw a rat in my house, I would leave and never come back. Like, I'd be sleeping in the hallway. How quickly are you addressing that?
I'll just quickly answer. I think that I started the testimony earlier to say that the buildings are, many of the systems in the buildings are at the end of their useful lives. So those issues that you're seeing are related, some of them related to plumbing issues, some of them are related to, failing systems. And so I think that we can address, issue to issue, the issues that you're describing, but we really need to address the root cause and really get at the systems and make sure that our buildings are rebuilt.
Absolutely, but you don't just leave a hole in somebody's wall, especially if you know that there's a rat, infestation problem in that development. Like, there should be, some conversation happening with contractors that are coming in to do this work. I can sit here all day and, sympathize with the conditions of the building, but that doesn't mean for a second that I'm okay with anybody living one single day with a rat running around their house. It's a public health issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer your question on our response time, it obviously depends on the rodent type, the Department of Health rodent type, but we really do appreciate hearing that. And you said, I know you mentioned that.
If I'm calling you today, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if I'm calling you today and I'm telling you that I have a rat in my apartment, how long before you come and get rid of that rat?
Interior rat work orders are priority 7. We get there within 24 hours.
And
on average, our rat complaint response time is 4 days, but that's including exterior rat work orders and basement work orders as well. We always prioritize the interior. And what we're doing with integrated pest management, like what I spoke about at the Johnson meeting that we were at, we're really prioritizing exterminators, finding the root cause, filling holes. If there's a hole left open like that, we speak to the management. There should at least be a masonite board as a temporary fix so that a rat could not come in. But we're always looking for holes, putting wire lath, putting excluder mesh in the holes so that the rodents can't get back in.
And the number, I'm sorry, you guys have been very generous. Just last question. Regarding the number of complaints for indoor rat complaints, has that number gone up, and by how much?
No, it has not.
It has not. Are you capturing that data? Because I find that really difficult to believe.
You mean in the last year or historically?
In the last year. I mean,
our interior rat complaints makes up less than 1% of all work orders. And we do have that in our Maximo data.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Councilman, before you pass the line, I wanted to thank you personally for that feedback, and also you mentioned that you planned on visiting some of our developments, and I'd be happy to join you personally.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
expect an invitation.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Farias?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here and answering all of our questions. I'm going to try to go through the first couple that are just like quick. Oh, sorry. I'll bring this bad boy closer to me. Okay, so I'll do the ones that are really quick that have popped up from some of the questions my colleagues have asked, and I just want clarification on this. Do 311 complaints auto-generate a NYCHA work order, or do residents have to separately go to the NYCHA website and put in a work order?
So 311 complaints are deferred to us, referred to us through the system, and then it will, get evaluated by our call center, and it will cause us to. So we do acknowledge 311 complaints, but we've trained our residents and we've educated our residents to call the CCC and use the My NYCHA application.
Okay, but just for clarification, it does come into your office internally, and then they're generated work orders.
It gets referred to the call center.
Yeah.
And then they create a work order.
So it's not like we're not missing 311 data. It's still coming in, and then it's transferred over to a work order.
Yeah, correct. So we're not missing it. We didn't parse it out as far as who generates that complaint, how it is generated. We can tell you where it came from, if it came from the CCC or after hours through an emergency work order.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. With the prior answer, it seems like as if folks still had to then pick up another line and call it in, but if it's still being referred to you, you can find out connecting dots of like what's the percentage that came from 301. It sounds like you could make those connections if we requested it.
We can certainly look into that, but I would say our response is to always encourage residents to call the CCC and utilize the application. It cuts out the middleman, right, or the middle person.
In terms of what Deputy Speaker Ayala was just asking around with the contractors on work sites, I particularly am interested in knowing, are the contractors separate vendors, like separate contractors that NYCHA hires? Are they internal people that get training from NYCHA? Are they unionized members? Like who are the contractors that are like opening up a sink and leaving a hole?
So obviously any contractor is fully vetted through the process, but I think holes as a result of repair work are typically, I could get you the exact figures of our property management and skilled trades versus an outside contractor, but for most repairs, minor repairs, we try to do that in-house with our union trained staff and skilled trades.
Okay. So for me, when I usually go through most of my NYCHAs, and this is somewhat connected to our rat mitigation issues that we're having, a lot of our large containers, that are placed throughout the NYCHAs to receive all of the trash are typically empty or half full. And what I hear from a lot of my NYCHAs, my TAs, the managements there, are that they don't have enough manpower to physically move the trash that's in front of buildings all the way to wherever the larger containers are for pickup, whether it's a private waste management or DSNY that's contracted out with the NYCHA. So are we looking at additional workers, or maybe has NYCHA ever seen or looked at different ways to purchase like wagons or smaller cars, like things like that, to help move trash through our developments faster and into the containers?
Yeah, so we do have some of those devices throughout our developments. If you have a specific thought or a specific development that you're hearing that issue with, Al, myself, and the team will go out there. We'll work with our fleet folks to purchase that equipment, anything that can make it easier for our cleaners to, our caretakers to do that work.
So it's not like a set standard across the board, like every NYCHA that has X amount of thousands of people gets 2 trolleys, a wagon, and a whatever. Like we're not setting up everyone the same and then adding more on. Or is it just like request by request basis?
Yeah, I'm gonna, that's what I was gonna say. I will forward that. So I think that is representative of some of our individualized, waste plans, and we'll get into that for you.
Okay.
It's generally development specific, but again, most of our, we could always use equipment. We could always use more things. We prefer to have mechanized equipment wherever we can, especially developments that have like the larger campuses. We have 20 acres, 30 acres, 40 acres. We always try to give the mechanized option, but we could look into that specifically. But they should have enough equipment, but we're also always trying new equipment, new things that we're piloting all over the city, ways of making life easier. We have one development that we purchased this large container where people, the residents in the morning, bring their garbage out, and instead of putting a lot of little cans, we just had one nice dumpster that stays clean, and then that can actually be picked up with either like a Bobcat or a John Deere tractor and brought directly to the container itself.
Larger container.
So again, if you have something specific, I'm more than glad to.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely get back to you folks on some of the larger issues in my district specifically, but I'd like to see a more standardization across the board, because we all have rodent issues across the board, and we all have trash issues across the board. And so I feel like a lot of us here, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but I feel like a lot of us here would want to advocate for a standardization of, what's at every NYCHA, or what is the basic foundation to make sure our workers and our tenants are able to live lives of dignity and work in a place that's like super helpful. And so I'm happy to like report back on some of the larger developments that I have that I know have issues that are contracted with DSNY, for example, and they're like, we can go around there, 2-3 times a day if you want us to, but that container is always half full, right? Or half empty, depending if you're an optimist or pessimist. But it's just moving the trash into there. That's the larger problem for 2 or 3 of my developments. So I'll report back to you guys offline. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We appreciate that. I think the uniformity is something that we're actually trying to move away from a little bit. And each site is different, right? Just amongst your 3 developments, right? 3 of your developments, they all have different layouts and geography. So we're actually trying to, as much as we can, individualize it to those developments while still maintaining a level of equity, making sure that every development has the equipment that they need for their development.
Well,
so we really and truly do appreciate that, and we're happy to look at anything we can specifically do to do that.
Sure. I guess my larger concern is it sounds like the reasoning for this is it sounds like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And so people might just be used to living like this and used to not putting in complaints and used to not getting any answers. And so that might mean that there are developments that are not being squeaky wheels. But I hear you on it if that's where you're feeling like the agency feels like it needs to go to be more hyper-specific. It's good for us to know that so we can be squeaky wheels.
Absolutely, and you're not squeaky to us. We're happy to hear any complaints and anything specific that you have that you'd like to, like I said to the Deputy Speaker, I'll say this to all the members of the hearing here. We're happy to walk any site with you and look at specific examples. Like I said, I'm fairly new here, so any opportunity to go out, especially with you fine folks, is something positive for me and learning for me as well. So,
I just have a clarifying question, and then we'll move on. So does every NYCHA campus have a specific developed, approved waste management plan in place?
Yes, we do, and they're public on our website.
Okay, great. Just wanted to clarify.
If I could add, got a second? If I could just add, I am all about innovation. I think it's, especially our campuses. There are so many, developments campus, because sometimes there are, Fred Samuels, for example, went there a couple weeks ago, and there's just, the material has to be placed out on the sidewalk. So we said that's, the curbside option is not acceptable, and we now deliver the material to Drew Hamilton, which is several blocks away. Something else that we have is the 6-yard, which was in the testimony, the 6-yard garbage trucks, the compactor trucks, very much like sanitation, but like a miniature version. They hold 3 to 3.5 tons. We have piloted, actually, I believe, in your district, Councilmember Nurse. It's in Garvey, Ocean Hill, Park Rock, Low, Glenmore Plaza, that sanitation provides a level of service. And what we did is we said, what would it be, we started in November of last year, what would it be like if we did the service on the opposite days? If sanitation comes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then we'll come on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And that's for the curbside sites. You know, the places that just, they don't have anywhere to store. They're on such a small footprint, and people shouldn't have to live that way. You know, I read a book when I got here. The first thing they handed me, day one when I got here, was A Home to Be Proud of. It was a great book. It was a simple pamphlet, but it's something that it's burned into my memory, and that's something I want to make sure that we deliver the best possible service. And we've piloted only the 2 trucks now, but I definitely think that, an expansion is definitely worthwhile. And all of our curbside sites, we're looking to either make them shared, which means you move them to a container, nearby container, which is like an exterior compactor, or provide some other kind of service. And I'm very, very confident that we can come up with solutions. There's a lot of good technology out there, and also like a street sweeper. You know, we have our own little mini sweepers, which you've seen in the developments, but I love to see something get the perimeter. You know, I'm not just happy with the interior, and, if we can get the exterior ourselves and put it on the schedule, on a rotation, keep it coming, and kind of do a thorough cleaning of developments. That's, I just wanted some of my ideas that. Thank you.
I just wanted to also build on what Al was describing. We, to your point, Councilmember Frias, some of the containers that are not full, we're looking at those. My team has identified 3 of them, and we're putting cardboard. We're repurposing them for cardboard only. About 15% of our waste is cardboard. And so thinking about innovations where we have equipment and it's underused, and working with Department of Sanitation to create those innovations in how we containerize waste. That's one of the things that is in the works.
Thanks. I'm going to move us on. We have a couple people have to leave. We also want to hear, there are some questions directed towards DOHMH. So we're going to kick it to Councilmember Menon.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the chairs for doing this hearing. This is so important, and I have to say, for the NYCHA developments in my district, and I have Holmes, Isaacs, and Lexington houses, this is probably the top complaint I hear is about rat and bug infestation. So I want to echo my colleagues' questions about response times. I'm sorry, I'm very skeptical about this 24-hour and 4-day response times, because that's certainly not what I'm hearing, and I want to echo what our Deputy Speaker said about that as well. The residents in the developments in my area are saying literally they don't even want to call 311 or NYCHA because they feel like they're not getting the response. And I walk in the buildings all the time and I see it firsthand. So I really have 2 questions. First is, could you send the committee, if the chairs agree, the complaints for every building in NYCHA in the city and the respective response times for those buildings?
So just to clarify the data you're asking for, obviously we'd have to follow up on this. You would like every indoor rat complaint?
Yes.
And the response time to those rat complaints in all NYCHA properties?
Yes.
That's something we can pull together. Obviously, we don't have it in front of us, but can look at that and circle back with you.
Okay, thank you. And then the second thing is, I understand it's complaint-driven, but what about the proactive approach? How often are you sending out inspectors to various buildings across the city?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime there is a complaint, that requires us to do additional follow-ups, right? So I'm going to let Josie give you a rundown on exactly how those follow-ups work, but part of the integrated pest management program that we're implementing across the authority is that follow-ups are consistent. There's no closeout, right? There's no like, oh, we came, we treated, and we're out of here. There's a, we came, we treated, we're going to treat that apartment. If the infestation level is high, we're going to go to the apartments above, below, right, and left. If there's an exterior infestation, we're going to keep moving through the grounds until we are able to close out the rat population there.
Are you doing spot checks so that it's not just, again, complaint-driven, but that you're sending inspectors out on a regular basis?
Go ahead, Josie.
So we have a program called the NYCHA Pest Infestation Indexing, where we randomly sampled 2,072 apartments this year, and this is something that we did last year and we will be doing again. And this isn't response, this isn't complaint driven, this is just randomly selected apartments. The inspectors go in and we have a uniformed, like this is a low infestation of roach, this is medium, this is high. There's certain questions they have to ask the residents, and then they spend 15 minutes looking around the apartment and noting if they see any level of infestation as well. So that's something that we are proactively doing as well. There's also, other trades are able, if they see any pest infestation, to automatically generate a work order. So like if a resident has a mold issue, there are questions that the inspector says, do you see any evidence of roach? Do you see any signs of rodent poop? And that automatically generates a extermination work order, and then we schedule and the exterminator goes.
And what about pesticides? Because that's another issue I'm hearing from residents. Like, what kind of pesticides are you using? Do they have side effects? And do you offer a warning, so particularly for families with young children?
Before we get into pesticides, I just want to correct one small thing. It was 2,071 apartments, not 2,072.
Oh, okay.
For the record, sorry. And Josie can talk about our exact our pesticide usage.
So all the products that we use, all the labels are on our website, and the notice that residents get saying you have a scheduled appointment, on the bottom of the notice it says please come to this website to look at all the labels. When the exterminator comes, you can ask them for what product and you'll be able to see the label as well. For gel, for roaches, we're primarily using gel. Pesticides, we're also using Gentrol, which is like a roach, it's called an insect growth regulator. It's like a birth control for roaches so that they're not able to reproduce and grow past the stage that they're currently in. For rodents, we're using First Strike, which is kind of like blue packets. It's a rodenticide. It's used in those black boxes that you'll see. The rodent goes in, it eats it, and then it leaves and it'll die later. Those are the primary products that we're using, but you can see all the products that we use on our website and what the label says they should be used and what the dangers of all of them are.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Bottcher?
Good morning. In New York City, landlords, private landlords, when they get a complaint from 311 called on them, the Department of Health inspects and will fine them if they find that they're not following the law and properly abating the property. When NYCHA gets complaints, is the Department of Health involved at all? Does the Department of Health hold NYCHA accountable?
Thank you, Councilmember. We'll invite our colleagues from the Department of Health up to answer the health-specific questions.
We do inspections, as I noted before, of NYCHA properties. We're doing monthly surveys with NYCHA to identify rat conditions and then referring those over to NYCHA using actually NYCHA's technology so that we can avoid a sort of bureaucratic step so that NYCHA gets that information right away. I'm checking on the answer to your exact questions. You need to give me a minute. I'll see if I can find that out.
You partner with NYCHA, working hand in hand with NYCHA on abatement issues. Private landlords get fined by the Department of Health. They get held accountable by the Department of Health. Does the Department of Health hold NYCHA accountable? NYCHA is a landlord.
Yes.
How are they being held accountable?
Yeah, so I want to talk first about our approach with private property owners, because you're right that private property owners are required to maintain their property pest-free, and the health department will do inspections in response to complaints, but also there's been a discussion of proactive inspections, and we're doing those as well, because the important point was made earlier that not everybody in New York is complaining, and so the health department's approach includes a proactive inspections, and we've done what we call indexing all across the city, and so we have a very good idea of where rats where we are more likely to find rats, and so we calibrate all of our interventions to spend more time in places where we know that there are rats, regardless of where people are complaining. We issue the summons, as you say, after we find that the property owner isn't complying with our order. So our first step is to issue an order to the property owner to say, here's what we found, and here's what we want you to do to correct the conditions. The conditions could be harborage, which means that it's conducive to rat populations, or actual active rat signs, which they need to address, typically by hiring a pest management firm. With NYCHA, we are working with them so that NYCHA can take those actions on their own. There is accountability in the sense that the information is public. The practice across the city is not to issue a violation to sort of shift funds around. So the accountability is for NYCHA to correct the condition, for that information to be public, but we wouldn't issue a fine to NYCHA in the way that we issue a fine to a property owner if they have not observed our order, and we go back and we find that they've not complied with our order, and then we issue a summons, and then they have the opportunity to go to oath.
So NYCHA is the largest landlord in New York City by far. Landlords across New York City are accountable to the Department of Health to abate their property. They receive summons if they fail to do so after a warning. NYCHA is not subject to that kind of oversight from the Department of Health. But the idea is that it's public information that we're getting that they're accountable to. Just, we see the numbers and hold you accountable that way.
No, yeah, understandable. And just want to reiterate, there's a tremendous amount of oversight and accountability at NYCHA. We have a federal monitor in place, along with action plans that we're required to publicly report on. We work closely with our partners at DOHMH to ensure that the issues they refer are corrected, just as we work with our partners at DSNY on similar issues.
I think the frustration you're hearing in my voice and on behalf of my colleagues is that for many years, we've seen things happen at NYCHA that would not be allowed to happen elsewhere. Across the street from privately owned apartment buildings, we have rat conditions that would never be allowed to stand. But because it's NYCHA, it's been allowed to go on for too long. And I hear some good things happening from you. I know many of you are new on this job, and I like some of what I'm hearing, but it's time for NYCHA to be held to a higher standard.
Thank you, Councilmember. We agree, and we look to raise that bar on a daily basis. Like I said, and like I've said to your colleagues, I am new as well. We are trying to make some progress, and I'm happy to walk any sites and address any specific issues you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd like to acknowledge Councilmember De La Rosa, who is with us, and Councilmember Velasquez. Thank you for joining. I think next we'll have Councilmember Chiose.
Hey again. Just a couple questions. So according to its capital upgrade schedule, I know NYCHA was to complete the installation of 223 new interior trash compactors, 43 new exterior compactors, 5 new bulk crushers, 147 new enlarged trash chutes, and 676 new food waste disposers at developments in the NRR zones by April 30th, 2021. Has NYCHA met this goal? And if not, where are you in those advancements?
Question I can answer for fiscal year 2022. I have those numbers in front of me, and maybe I can talk about the rest of it.
Okay.
So fiscal year 2022, we have 88 million in capital, total of 485 million over 5 years. We have 18.6 million in design build waste yards. Those are 7 waste yards that are progressing. I just heard this morning that the comptroller approved 26.4 million design build for a pneumatic system at Polo Grounds in Wrangell. Thank you, Comptroller Lander. Very, very excited to get shovels in the ground. 5.2 million for design for waste yards for 21. 18.2 million for fiscal year 21 interior compactors, and 21.1 million for fiscal year 22 interior compactors.
Okay. And I guess a follow-up question, and if you can get me specifics on, just everything else on there, that'd be great right after for a follow-up. I wanted to ask, in buildings that have received waste management infrastructure upgrades, has there been a reduction that you've seen in rodents and pests at those developments?
I'm going to ask my colleague on the operations side to speak to what he's seen in the field.
We've had a 48% reduction in rat populations overall in neighborhood rat reduction developments, and these are the developments that have gotten these upgrades.
Oh, wow. And how are you collecting that data?
This is the Department of Health monthly borough count. That's how we track it.
Okay. And another question that I have is in regards to RAD or PACT. How is the pest and rodent situation and I'm not sure if either of you have asked these, but how is the pest and rodent situation at developments under RAD and PACT different than those that are not under RAD and PACT?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember. So, as I previously stated, we work through a transition with those developments, right? So they're not alone on an island. There is a unit within NYCHA, within our real estate department that handles the transition and oversight of those property managers. There is an open line of communication, and then if there's any specific questions on specific sites, we're happy to take a look at those. But we do have an open line. For example, if they were to call either departments of the departments up here in support operations, or the other 3 departments under my purview, we would provide assistance. They're not on an island. As far as specific numbers, we would have to get back to you on those. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the last question I have is in regards to recycling and composting and how it could add to a reduction of waste as well as pests in our communities. Across the board throughout our city, not only pertaining to NYCHA, it does take a lot of meaningful interaction to get people on board with composting as well as recycling still in 2022. Despite NYCHA's outreach, there are still issues with residents participating in NYCHA Recycles. What other efforts have been done to mitigate these issues amongst the residents?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We have been focused, as I said before, on the capital infrastructure. We are strongly refocusing on recycling and composting. We are working closely with Green City Forests and other community partners. As you know, there are farms across 7 developments in the sustainability agenda. We're committed to 15, particularly at those locations. Their efforts for composting, Domingo Morales and Compost Power have set up the 3-bin system. That is the most sustainable way to deal with organics. We also are very much looking forward to the Smart Bin pilot that is happening in Ravenswood. We do think that organics managed in that way will be beneficial to multifamily buildings. And we advocated for expanding that program on the housing plan. We also have in a city green team at Wagner Houses that does door-to-door white glove pickup of recyclables. We would love to see these resident-led initiatives expanded across the portfolio. And we're also looking at the infrastructure, recycling infrastructure across the portfolio. In our standalone buildings, the recycling infrastructure is right outside the buildings. In the campus-style buildings, they are spread out, 1 per 3 buildings. We are looking at expanding that infrastructure. We're starting with 2 developments. Marcy and Morris are the 2 developments where we're going to be looking at new ways to install recycling infrastructure.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Chairs.
Thank you. Before our DOH rep leaves, I just wanted to get on the record, if you've had the opportunity to look at the bills being heard today, intro 414, 442, 449, and 460, and if you have any feedback or comments on them, we just want to know if you're supportive or not, and if not today, that's okay. We just wanted to get you before you had to leave.
So on intro 442, that is a bill for the buildings department, and we look forward to working with the council and with our colleagues at DOB on that bill, but we'll leave it to them to take a position. Okay. On intro 414, we appreciate the intent of that bill. The department, as I noted before, is very committed to transparency. We'd like to work with you on fine-tuning that, but we are aligned on the intent there. The other 2 bills, I believe we only got this morning. So we're looking forward to reviewing those and getting back to you with a position.
Okay, thank you. And you're the person to follow up with for that fine-tuning?
You can follow up with our intergovernmental office, and they will be in touch with me, and we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to pass it to Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa. I want to recognize Councilmember Gail Brewer, who has joined us. And just for the members who have joined us, we'll just go to you too if you have questions after, and then Alexa and I will resume several pages of questions.
Thank you so much to both of our chairs for this great hearing. I had a question specifically about the trash chutes. I represent specifically 2 developments in Northern Manhattan, Marble Hill Houses and Dyckman Houses. And mostly from Marble Hill Houses, we get some complaints about the trash chutes sometimes being inoperable or tenants not throwing the garbage to a trash chute and then placing them in areas where then rodents have access to them outside of the building. I know that the Tenants Association, which we work closely with, has started a few years back their own little internal campaign trying to educate the tenants about where the garbage goes rather than placing it outside. But I was wondering if there was any interventions that NYCHA could provide and some supports for that type of help. It's also because some of the garbage, doesn't fit through the chute, and there isn't spaces where folks can properly recycle their garbage. And so I wanted to know what the plan was and what can we do to support the tenants who are taking matters into their own hands and trying to educate their neighbors on some of these issues.
I appreciate the question. It's one that I tried to answer as I was developing the comprehensive waste management plan when I first came to NYCHA. It became very clear that the chutes are very small. They were designed for something totally different than they're being used for today. When the buildings were built, the waste was largely organic and it used to go into the incinerator and disappear. I recognize that now that the waste has tripled since the buildings were built. Not all of it is organic, and typically the 13-gallon bag that you get in a supermarket doesn't necessarily fit into the chute. And so we have worked across 60 developments to install 262 enlarged trash chutes on the ground floor. Those hopefully will help with disposal of larger bags. As I mentioned before, we are also, as a part of our design build initiative, looking at additional infrastructure that would be closer to the buildings and allow our residents to dispose of their trash right outside the building. We're also partnering with the Department of Sanitation on what we're calling Clean Curbs for All, and looking at mechanical pickup of containerized waste that typically would go into a large garbage bag on the street. We don't want to see that for many reasons. Many of you mentioned pests. So that is another initiative where we think that placing these outside the buildings will allow residents to not have to go to the chute potentially and dispose of their waste and recyclables and maybe organics right outside their buildings in a containerized manner, and allow Department of Sanitation to pick it up in a mechanical manner.
Councilmembers Brewer or Velasquez?
Thank you very much. This is the age-old problem, 40 years, same issue. I hope you can solve it. But one question would be, for places where there's no storage, the Hostos, no storage, 589 Amsterdam, no storage. Would you be using some of the chutes or the bins that the mayor suggested for commercial? Is there something we can do? 589, every day, out on the street, it's got a little fence, etc. So I'm just saying, sometimes there's no place to put the garbage, to store it. How are you going to handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we'll look into that.
I could give you every development in Manhattan and what the problem is.
Well, we are more than happy to hear every specific issue and take a look at each of them individually. As we were saying earlier, every development has an individual need, right? What the Hostos needs is different than something that Grant needs, right? We're happy to look at all of those different things. I think something that what we have been doing and rather successfully is taking spots with low rates of containerization, right? And identifying spots of greater need, and we're actually moving refuse between the two sites, right? So somebody's not using their containers, we'll find a use for them, right? We'll take garbage from somewhere else and move it to that. And like I said, as far as the specifics, we're happy to look at each site in its own light and make those changes. And as I've said to all the members of the committee, I'm happy to walk through those with you.
Those big bins that we went to see at Times Square, you know those big bins that the mayor's paying a ton of money for? Why can't NYCHA get them?
You were talking about the smart bins? Yeah.
No, you're not talking about the smart bins.
No, I'm talking about the one that's in the commercial districts that the bids are getting.
These are the mechanical collections?
Was the Times Square Alliance one?
Oh, yeah.
They're just closed.
I would like them to also go to NYCHA, and I can give you the locations.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember. So actually what Vlada just mentioned was the pilot for Clean Curbs for All, which we are working very closely with NYCHA on, and that's for mechanized containerized collection. We're doing that pilot very much in collaboration with them, and we hope to have those bins out on the street probably in the next year or so. And so that's something that we're looking at in parallel to a larger initiative around containerization of our trash, and not just looking at, one-off pilots. I think what we're really focused on, and this gets back to what you all were talking about earlier, is a real, uniform citywide approach. And so that's something that the department is beginning to look at and hopes to move forward with. So not just for NYCHA, but for private residential developments as well. And as part of the adopted budget, we were very thankful that the administration and the council added additional funding for those programs.
I'm never satisfied, but thank you.
Great, thank you. I wanted to go back to Councilmember De La Rosa's line of questioning around the chutes. We understand that there was a survey conducted of the garbage chutes doors, which can obviously pose danger to children. And as we learned last year after the death of a child in the Bronx, they pose a unique fire hazard as well. Can you tell us the results of that survey? How many chutes are in that survey? And essentially, what is the new progress and how many are in need of repair?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember. Chair, apologies. Thank you, Chair. So we inspected 20,497 total doors. There were 9 missing doors, 0.3%. There were 1,400 doors requiring replacement, 1,464 doors for the exact figure requiring replacement, 1,139 doors reported having chute jams or compactors out of service, which we corrected separately. 2,232 doors were reported not operating as designed. They had obstructions or are dirty. And 2,881 doors were reported missing decals. We're still in the process of finishing this up. Our goal is to have it done in the end of this month, early next month, and we're happy to share those findings when fully complete. As far as any of the issues that I just mentioned, needing replacement was 7.1% of all of our doors, 5.6% were jams, 10.9% were operational issues as they had obstructions, and 14.1% had missing decals. We'll get you exact numbers on what has been repaired versus what's still out there, but once those surveys are completed, they're submitted to property management to handle it.
Will those results be included in the individual action plan items?
So the chute, right? It's kind of two different things, right? But the chute doors, obviously, the trash chutes are a part of how we do collection at that development, right? They're essential. But the survey creates kind of almost its own action plan, right? For each development to go back and follow up on specifically chute doors. It's a separate item. Obviously, you mentioned the safety issues, and there's nothing we take more seriously than our resident safety.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and obviously it's its own action plan as well. I think part of the challenge that we see across, right, the issues are layered and compounding, and there are so many different action plans for one development. You have to kind of have an enormous amount of time and a special hieroglyphics ring to figure out the status of your development based on 58 different reports that are written in very different languages. It's very hard to get a comprehensive understanding for each development, like what is actually happening on the ground and what are the time frames for all the different, and obviously you represent one element of, of issues that developments are facing. So I appreciate it and don't expect you to answer the big meta issue. However, I guess to the extent that these action plans where residents are going to go and check, they need to be comprehensive and full.
Yeah, and Chair, could not agree more. Like I said previously, the safety of our residents and the ability for them to remove refuse from their apartments is a high priority for us. trash chute doors, the reason it's kind of, and I say action plan, it's not really a true action plan. It's actually an immediate follow-up. There is no real, there's no like, hey, we'll get you an action plan and we'll get you an answer in a couple of months. It's your trash chute door is broken, there is a safety issue, and that requires an immediate follow-up. So the reason for separating it out is to treat it as a safety issue. We want it to be separate, solely focused. There's a lot of action plans, and we don't want this particular safety issue to get lost in the mix. Something that we are doing, and we're working on finalizing, as I mentioned in my testimony, is a new scorecard system. That will allow us to kind of look at waste management as a whole, from everything from the stairwell to the waste yards to any containerization we can add in a play yard, to, instead of throwing the item on the ground, right, you can walk over to the container, you're more likely to do so. So we're working on that, and what we want to include in that is actually how we do collection. There was a lot of concerns raised from members of the committees, and that is something that we've noticed too. This didn't fall on deaf ears, so we are working through that. Something that I want to personally mention is, as I've gone around to a couple of, I've read the original report on like Grant houses and some issues with Parkside houses, and having had to go there for different reasons, I always walk around. If I go there for elevators, I go look at waste, right? If I go there for waste, I go look at pests, right? And I look at all of the groups under my purview and see what's going on there. And I think what I've noticed is from the report, it was interesting to me, and it's not perfect, right? All rats are bad. Any rat is a bad rat. But we are making some progress and seeing, they're like, for example, like Grant houses, right? We put down wire lathe and there's no rats in that area anymore, but there are rats in another area. Talking to residents, understanding, hey, is it getting better? Are we making a dent? And really truly understanding that is something that's very important to me as I walk through development. So getting back to your question, the scorecard is something that we are looking forward to, looking at waste management as a whole. Not just is it dirty in an instant moment, not just a snapshot in time. It's how are they doing collection? How are they throwing out? How does it look 4 hours later? And how does it look, the end of the week, right? We want to look at all aspects of that, not just improve one piece of the process and move on.
I appreciate that. In terms of the chutes themselves, is capital funding needed to repair the garbage chutes, or is that considered expense funding?
I think it depends. If there's a larger project in the development and a comprehensive betterment, it would be considered capital. I think one-off chutes may be considered expense. But it is I think it is largely an operational function, not a capital function, because if it's a one-off, it would be an expense response or operational response.
Right, so I guess, are you asking about how we're responding to the trash chute inspections? That's through our expense funding. If we're doing a larger project like widening or something like that, we'll refer it to capital. But to correct this, the numbers I just gave you, that's coming out of the expense funding.
Great. Thank you. I'd love to kind of take it back a little bit in terms of we understand as a result of the federal monitor agreement, there is now a new centralized waste management department, and there was reorganization done, and much of the work that you discussed is a result of that reorganization. Can you just clarify for us what the budget of this department is, what the budget is for resident outreach of this department, and just talk to us about what it actually looks like and how the residents have benefited from this kind of restructuring.
Yeah, so I'll start with just on the high level point before we get into the budget and items like that. So obviously, pest control and waste management are often roped together, but I think the purpose of this, what we have seen, is that having a department solely working together under the same umbrella, but solely focused on as opposed to like, oh, if I do this, it's gonna have. No, we want to solve both problems individually, but make sure that they solve the total problem, right? Which is reduction of rats and insects, rats and infestation. That was kind of the separation of that, and I can get into numbers if you give me a moment to look at the exact notes. I don't want to misquote. I can follow up with you on exact budget and head count in a later follow up for the sake of time, if that's all right.
Is the department fully staffed at this point?
Yeah, we have some vacancies, but we're working diligently to backfill them. As far as both waste and pest control, so waste management is almost fully staffed. We're working on some ways to make data more readily available with using existing resources. Pest control, as we just may or may not have previously mentioned, is the pest control department supports the borough pest control operations and provides oversight as well as some operational support to those departments. So looking at pest control as a whole, what we have as a vacancy in the centralized pest control, we can speak to that, of course, but we have vacancies versus what they have in the field operations offices, property management operations offices, represent the totality of our pest control efforts.
Got it. In terms of, we understand the federal monitor uses the waste management measurement app to measure waste conditions at NYCHA. The monitor, we understand, is working to transfer this system to NYCHA. Can you talk to us a little bit about where NYCHA is in that process?
Yeah, so we're working out some of the specifics of it, actually. Like I said, we want it to be a more objective rating system as opposed to a snapshot in time. Just to expand on what I had answered in your last question, which had nothing to do with the scorecard. But ratings are, essentially based on that 1 to 5 rating. So since the scorecard started, we've seen our rating go. I mean, it's not monumental, but it has gone from 2.6, 2.61 to 3.27 overall as a cumulative rating on an average. So we are happy to see all improvement is good improvement. Obviously, we'd like to have seen it go from a 2.6 to a 5, but it's only been a year. So we'll continue to work on that as it improves. And like I said, we want it to have a more wide-ranging look. We want to monitor how collection is going. We want to look at just a random time during the day. Are the groundskeepers making their rounds and caretakers making their rounds? And is what we're doing kind of working, right? So as we work to understand a little bit more I'm having a loss of word here, but as we want to look at the points that we want to rate more properly, if we look at the specific points, we'll follow up with a progress report on that. But I think, like I said, we want to look at this more objectively, not just a snapshot in time. How does the development look? Because it's an ongoing battle.
Is there a timeline that you're looking to work with in terms of integrating that system wholly?
Obviously, we would love to have it already in place, but truly, I don't have an exact answer for you on timeline. I can look at where we're at in the process and follow up with you to give you a more exact timeline.
Great. We love clear timelines.
Yes, I don't want to say tomorrow, and it's really 4 years from now. So.
Well, I think we need it yesterday, but we'd like to hear back from you on a concrete time frame. I don't know. You want to?
Yeah, I can take over, give you a little bit of a break. Also want to recognize Councilmember Pilina Sanchez. Thank you for joining us. Do you have any questions? Okay. So moving, just kind of continuing with general sanitation operations, can you describe NYCHA's plan to pilot the pneumonic waste collections and which developments are currently receiving this infrastructure?
I just wanted to acknowledge Councilmember Brewer. I think that the first conversation about the pneumatic system happened in your office. I am proud to say that Polo Grounds in Ringgold, we got news this morning from the comptroller, it's been approved. Those are the two developments where we're designing the pneumatic system. And the reasons for why we chose it is because it's a high-density site. It didn't have interior compactors that were operational at the time that we selected it. The caretakers were shoveling waste.
Which site is this? I didn't hear
Polo Grounds in Ringgold. And it was very clear that this location needed a significant waste intervention. I think many of you who have been there would agree. The reason we focused on Polo Grounds in particular is because it's a very high-density site, tall buildings, over 30 caretakers were taking care of that location. And as we were figuring out a pilot location, we recognized that we didn't want to pursue a lot of permits, cross streets. Trenching costs would be high if it was a larger campus site. So Polo Grounds really fit the bill.
Okay. So right now, this is currently the only pilot?
Polo Grounds and Ringgold, those two locations.
And just for clarification, this has started or you've gotten approved for?
We've gotten approval from comptroller this morning, and the work will begin this summer.
Okay, great. In the mayor's housing plan, the city has committed to pilot mechanical waste collection for NYCHA developments where pest-proof containers would be emptied into a truck using an automatic hoist. I know we've talked a little bit about mechanization. What will be in this summer's request for proposals for this pilot?
We are targeting a location likely in Brooklyn. It will be a cluster of NYCHA developments where we would install these containers, whether they're above ground or underground, depends on what comes through in the RFP. All of these locations will be curbside, where we have curbside pickup at the moment. And the partnership is, again, a true partnership with Department of Sanitation, where they will be running the trucks to pick up this waste in a mechanized manner.
Okay. Thanks for elaborating on those criteria. How frequently, I mean, this is kind of a basic question. This isn't necessarily one of ours. How frequently does garbage collection occur at NYCHA now, and how is frequency determined?
Could you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
sorry.
missed the beginning of it. Sorry. Thank you.
How frequently does garbage collection occur at NYCHA, and how do you determine that frequency? What sort of metrics do you use? Could you tell us what developments are on your list that need more trash pickups?
I want to make sure I answer all your questions. Excuse me. I got my water today. They're generally, most developments are picked up 3 times. It's either 2 or 3 time collection. They're generally, I'm talking from the curbside angle, that they generally will be collected the same as the neighborhood, of which they reside. But a majority of our developments, which is, I'm going to say, about 75% right now, are either containerized or share containerized, which I had mentioned before, so that we basically get service on demand. Most places have schedules. We know how much is generated at each location based on past history, and sanitation is always 100% responsive. Like, for example, if we had a problem at a development, we had a problem with a development that had 2 radioactive loads of garbage. And it was, I know it automatically piques everybody's, like, why did that happen? It's generally outpatient chemotherapy that, somebody they don't let us know about it, and it ends up in the garbage. And depending on whether the garbage was picked up by one person, put in one container and then the other container, generally it's too late by the time it happens because it was in one container and another container. So the bottom line is they needed alternate service because those 2 containers could be basically quarantined for as much as 30 days. So we had to deliver to another development. So that's a shared development. So sanitation immediately gave us enhanced service for the other development, which was only getting 3 days a week, and then they enhanced it to like 5 days a week, or whatever service we need, they generally provide. So the containerization is either a schedule or it could be a call-in. If they don't generate as much, some of the smaller developments don't generate as much material, so they, they'll just call it in as necessary.
Okay, thank you for illuminating that with an example. Last year, NYCHA was asked how much garbage in terms of tonnage was collected in 2019, 2020, and 2021, and was unable to provide that number. Are you prepared to provide that number today? How does DSNY track waste tonnage from NYCHA in its monthly and annual reporting?
Yeah, thank you. We will defer to our partners at DSNY for the answer to that.
Good afternoon. So 2019, and so just an important caveat here. So what we are able to track is the tonnage that we collect from NYCHA via the containerized service, because that's a dedicated service just for NYCHA. What we are not able to track is where a NYCHA development is on a curbside route, and that material is collected alongside every other apartment building or house that's on that route. So we're not able to get into that level of detail. But as Al mentioned earlier, 75-ish% of developments are containerized in some way, shape, or form. So this does capture a significant share of that. So 2019, containerized tonnage, an average of 11,773 tons per month. 2020, that went up to 14,211. 2021 decreased to 13,423, and 2022 through May, which was the last full month we have, is 11,547. So, saw definitely a big spike in 2020, more folks staying at home, more folks eating at home, learning at home, working at home. That spike subsided a bit in 2021 and now is back toward what we see as sort of typical levels from 2019.
Okay, and while we have you here, or up at the mic, we understand that NYCHA pays DSNY for a portion of sanitation services. There is a bill before the state right now sponsored by Assemblymember Epstein, A8209, that would eliminate NYCHA paying fees to DSNY. Can you elaborate on where exactly NYCHA is paying fees to the city for garbage service? And what is the cost of the contracts with private waste carting entities? How many contracts are represented by the total cost? And I can repeat those as we're talking.
Sure, and I can just speak very quickly to what sanitation is paid for, and then hand it over to NYCHA to talk about the bigger picture. So sanitation does pay us for some supplemental curbside collection service. So that's in in a neighborhood where there might only be 2 times a week collection. They might pay for a 3rd or 4th day of collection. That's been a long-standing practice between NYCHA and the city, and over the last 3 years, it's ranged somewhere between 750 and 800,000, typically around 750,000 a year, and then I'll pass it over to NYCHA to speak to the bulk collection.
Yeah, and so for the, you're asking for the number specifically for?
Yes, so can you elaborate on where exactly NYCHA is paying fees to the city for garbage service? I think that was answered with the 3rd or 4th supplemental pickup. Right. But if there's anything else you want to elaborate on, that's welcome. And then what is the cost of the contracts with private waste carting entities? And how many contracts does that total cost represent?
Yeah, so we can get you the exact number of contracts and exact expenditure for our carting contracts. The additional cost that I have for bulk pickups is just over $7 million.
Just over $7
million.
Million.
$7,182,717.
Okay. That's for the private carting contracts, right?
No, that's for you know what? Let me clarify that. Let me clarify
Yes,
that
can
number.
you clarify?
It's like a big number. I want to clarify it and get back to you
You.
on that. We'll follow up with you. Thanks.
Okay, so and we'll send the question for follow-up, but the question is about the private carting contracts, the total cost of how, all of the contracts, and how many does that represent?
Absolutely. We'll get you an exact number and
Great.
exact cost of our hauling contracts.
I'm going to ask one more question. Do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
That request is specifically for the private carting.
Yes.
Private carting entities. Actually, we'd also like to know in terms of contracts, what are the costs in kind of every center of private contracts? So like in the pest area, how many contracts have been accepted in terms of number and like total value?
Okay.
And I guess in every other area, we would like to know in comparison how many private contractors and vendors we're using in each of these areas.
Okay. Understood.
Great.
We will get you that exact information from our finance
Okay,
department.
great. I just have one more question, and then we can kick it to Lincoln for a minute. Okay, so in 2019, NYCHA asked DSNY to increase curbside collection to 7 days a week. DSNY was unwilling to provide those services due to costs, which I understand was mostly attributed to headcount. Has any thought been given to how DSNY and NYCHA can collaborate to both meet waste management goals and NYCHA resident employment goals?
Sure. So, I think if costs were not an option, I think we would love to have more service in a lot of places. Unfortunately, cost is a main constraint for us. And so that's something that, in general, we're constantly looking at, whether it's on the litter basket service side, on residential collection side, collection specifically for NYCHA, et cetera. We don't have any residential properties anywhere in New York City that have 7-day-a-week collection. And, I think with the exception of maybe a very rare instance, it's probably not warranted to have 7-day-a-week collection at the curbside. But I think this is something that we're obviously working very closely with NYCHA on. We want to meet their needs, whether that's through containerized collection and supplementing the containerized collection, whether that's through helping them out with additional curbside collection where and when that's necessary. And I think that's really the goal of the Clean Curbs for All pilot. And we're very optimistic that the pilot is going to be a rousing success. And we'll be back here a year from now talking about how we can expand that pilot to a much larger universe of developments that are currently curbside.
Okay, great. We'll kick it over to Councilmember Ressler, and then we'll come back for some recycling questions.
Great, thank you. Firstly, it is especially good to see my friend, Deputy Commissioner Greg Anderson. So fun to get to chat with you even in the awkwardness of a hearing. So first and foremost, I really want to thank the chairs Nurse and Aviles for their leadership here. The rat conditions across New York City are worse than ever. Certainly in my memory, during the pandemic, things have just gotten absolutely awful. And this issue needs a great deal of attention, but in no place greater than in our public housing developments. And, you go into NYCHA developments and the basement floors are dirt and there is no concrete that's been in place. And they are just rat infested. I walk around and there is no basic garbage infrastructure to handle 500, 700 unit developments that is functioning. And even more tragically, there is just a fundamental lacking of a waste management plan per building in the development. I walk around my NYCHA developments and there's just garbage bags strewn wherever they may be. And oftentimes, they're directly in front of people's doors, which leads to high concentrations of rats directly where people are walking each and every day, where kids have to pass, where seniors have to pass. It is disgusting. And our tenants deserve so much better. So I just want to start with that. How do we implement a waste management and rat mitigation plan in each of the 7 developments in our district? In my district.
Thank you, Councilmember. We obviously share in your concern. That's why we're here. We agree that rat mitigation is something that we need to do better on. That being said, each development does have an individualized action plan. We've made those public. For specific developments, as I said to every member of this committee, both committees, I am happy to walk through each specific development, walk through the individualized action plan, and make improvements to that plan. This is something that we've done across the authority. Like I said, we've made these individual action plans transparent, and we are happy to take on any individual or specific items as a one-off, walking the property with you,
I would welcome the follow-up and the meeting with my tenant leadership. I can tell you I've brought NYCHA leadership to my developments. We've looked at the trash bags randomly piled up in front of people's doors, and I don't see changes. And so I appreciate that there may be an action plan that's sitting on a shelf. If it's not actually making a difference in people's lives, then it's not worth very much. So I am angry about this because the conditions that people are experiencing are totally unacceptable, and they're avoidable. And if we put the trash bags in the right places and containerize them properly and invested in the basic infrastructure that any large-scale development of multiple hundreds of units should have for compactors and the like, then we wouldn't have these issues. They are eminently avoidable. And so I will follow up with you, and I would appreciate the opportunity for a briefing on each of our developments for how we make that happen.
Councilmember Ressler, I just wanted to quickly say that as we developed the comprehensive waste management plan, the same issues that you're describing were exactly top of mind in developing that plan, and we worked really hard to advocate for over $500 million in investments that have never been made in our buildings since they were built. And so that work got approved, that funding got approved in March of 2021, last year. We are, my team and myself are working really, really hard to move those contracts through procurement and rebuild that infrastructure. I do think that in a year, hopefully when we're having this hearing again, you'll see the differences where we have made investments. My colleagues in operations will say to you that they've seen reductions of about half of the issues that we're discussing. So I do want to make sure that as we walk away from this hearing, you are aware of all the work that we're doing.
And the neighborhood rat reduction model, did I go over? They're still talking, so I'll keep talking while they're talking. The neighborhood rat, until the chairs tell me to shut up, right? The neighborhood rat reduction program, was announced with quite a bit of fanfare some 5 years ago. Is that still the model that you all are employing, or have you moved on from that and it's now whatever you announced in the capital plan for last year?
Yeah, so as far as the investment, we are still working through that. It's at 101 developments. We've seen a 48% reduction in those developments, and across that was 101 developments. As far as our approach to pest control in general, we've moved into the idea of integrated pest management. I almost said PASTE. I was confusing PASTE and WEST before.
It's been a long hearing.
Yeah, sorry. So thank you for that moment. So as we've adopted IPM, we have seen our pest complaints reduce and our follow-ups from exterminators increase. And that's kind of the goal. Obviously, the reduction in complaints is a reduction in hopefully the existence of pests, but there are increased follow-ups from our exterminators across the authority.
Okay, and at those 101 developments where you made those major investments, have we seen a significant reduction in the complaints around rats? Is that the 48% reduction? That's at those 101 developments in particular?
Yes.
Okay, and is that and that model is being expanded based on the investments that were announced in 2021.
It's actually, right, as far as are you speaking about as far as a capital program, or?
Oh, right, it was a capital program, and there was a variety of investments that were made that NYCHA committed to as a part of those neighborhood rat reduction zones.
Precisely. So we are designing new waste yards that have better visual screenings. They are sized for the facilities and the amount of waste that's coming in. They have state-of-the-art equipment. That will make a difference. We're also replacing the interior compactors. That's all a part of the City Capital Action Plan, over $500 million that got approved in capital work. And so the idea is, as you described, those assets have never been replaced. They're all past their useful life. And so once those replacements happen, we do believe, in tandem with the behavioral change campaign, which we've also developed, a campaign for Clean NYCHA. It's really hard to ask residents to do their part when things are not containerized and disorganized. But in tandem with the capital investments that we've been able to thankfully advocate for and receive, we'll start to see those differences.
I appreciate the time. I just would say NYCHA is where we should be innovating and investing in kind of innovative solutions on waste management to mitigate against pest issues. And so if there's any place where we should be thinking about containerization and how to actually get trash bags off of our streets and into protected areas and spaces, it's at NYCHA. And so I really hope that this could be an area where the Department of Sanitation and the Housing Authority work in partnership to actually push some real solutions, because there's the space, right? And there's ample space, there is density. It's where we should be doing this and prioritizing it. And I really hope you'll take that seriously. Thank you.
We absolutely agree. That is the reason, as soon as Commissioner Tisch became available, we had a conversation with her. She also agrees. She's focused on this work. She's told us that. And we do also believe that our scale will allow us to signal to the market that we can do this work here at NYCHA, but also expand it to other places in New York City.
Thank you. We're going to hear from Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you so much, chairs, and thank you so much for holding this hearing. So hello, good afternoon. I've been listening in on the live stream, and so I wanted to follow up, I think, on something that Councilmember Nurse started to talk about earlier, which is recycling. I know of developments that don't have recycling centers, that aren't able to recycle. I believe my mom's building where she lives does not have a recycling center, and so they can't. So my first question is, what percentage of NYCHA developments have recycling centers, and what are the options that residents have where there are no recycling centers?
Thank you for that question, and I would love to find out which development you don't have a recycling center. Something must have happened, because in 2015, 2016, all NYCHA developments received recycling infrastructure. For standalone buildings, there should be 2 recycling bins right outside. For campus-style properties, we have bins per 3 buildings. We recognize that's not always convenient to walk a distance. I know that in Pomnac, we actually measured, it's about 700 feet to walk to a bin. We're looking at other solutions at Marcy and Morris. We are going to be piloting different bins that will allow closer to the building disposal of both recyclables and organics. So as we agree on sort of standardized infrastructure through those 2, we will begin advocacy for more recycling infrastructure.
Thank you for that clarification. It might be the distance that I hear mostly about. And so what percentage of NYCHA residents do recycle? Do you have any way of estimating that?
I will ask my colleague, the Department of Sanitation, to.
Musical chairs.
Also.
That's okay. If we're going to stay on recycling for a while, I think she can take a breather.
Great.
So the question was, what percentage of NYCHA residents regularly recycle?
Right now, yeah.
So that's something, I mean, obviously, and happy to have Vlada weigh in more about the resident engagement that NYCHA does. What we look at when we're looking at recycling is typically diversion rate, and like I mentioned earlier, very difficult to measure diversion rate at NYCHA because the recyclables are collected on the same truck as every other recyclable in the district. So it's collected once a week on the same frequency, the same route. So it's difficult for us to measure diversion. When we have looked at it in the past and we haven't done an assessment in several years, it's been relatively low. I think we're very aware of the fact that we have a lot more work to do. And one of the things that we've worked very closely with NYCHA on, and whether that's through the inner city green team or Green City Force or some of the other programs, is really working with NYCHA residents to understand what the barriers are to recycling, the distance, the infrastructure. That's a huge barrier. That's the biggest barrier we see in any kind of housing. The harder it is to do something, the less likely you are to do it. So that's something that we have to solve, that infrastructure problem on one side, as well as the resident engagement and education on the other side. So it's not something we have a great picture of, but there's certainly more work to do.
Do you have a sort of citywide NYCHA diversion rate or any sort of metric? What is low? What is low?
So the last time we did an assessment, and it wasn't a statistically valid sample like the waste characterization studies we do. The last time we did an assessment, it was less than 2%, compared to a curbside diversion rate of around 17% for the city as a whole. So obviously 10% of the rate that we see citywide.
Are there any specific goals that NYCHA has set around diversion rates, and how have you created any incentive programs? What is being done at this point to increase recycling?
No, I appreciate that question, and it's one that I think about literally every day and night. We, in the sustainability agenda and in general, are committed to net zero vision. I think that the city has the same vision as NYCHA residents should. We are refocusing. I think earlier, you may have not been here, but I talked about the fact that we really need to address the baseline and the infrastructure. My team is refocusing on organics and recycling. We are extremely interested in the resident-led initiatives. So the work that's being done by Domingo Morales and the work that's being done by Inner City Green Team, we'd love to continue to fund and increase those programs. Obviously, the infrastructure needs to be in place. Some of that is going to happen through the newly redesigned waste yards. Some of it is going to happen in the pneumatic system. Some of it is going to happen in the Clean Curbs for All work that we're undertaking. And I think that as we are standing up this work, we are thinking about the fact that we need data points. I think that in the Clean Curbs for All pilot, we'll be able to measure, right? Because there will be dedicated NYCHA containers and vehicles. We do have a building management system in some of our buildings, and we're starting to think about how to put sensors on some of the infrastructure. And I think through the pneumatic collection, we'll be able to see what flows through. So I think that as we are recapitalizing our assets, we do need to think about data and data points, and we're actively doing that.
Great. Thank you so much, and happy third hour of your hearing. Thank you, chairs.
Thank you. The waste hearings go long. I don't know. People love this stuff. So we've spent most of it talking about rats. So I'm really excited we got into the recycling. I do have, just to clarify, I do have a couple of clarifying questions to your line of questioning, Councilmember Sanchez. So the diversion rate for recycling nationwide is roughly 2%. And then there was a question about, do you have target diversion rates? And I didn't hear if there was a percentage of a target diversion rate by a certain date.
So at sanitation, at least, our target is just to increase it. We would love to get NYCHA up to the citywide average diversion rate. We'd love to get far beyond that. We know from our last waste characterization study that think around, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but 32-ish% of waste is organics, and another 33-ish%, and this is just in NYCHA, is recyclable. So that's, the upward bounds of what we could achieve on a curbside basis with those two programs if we had them, fully accessible, fully engaged with the tenant or the resident population, would be around 65%. So we'd love to get to something like that. Obviously, the citywide diversion rate right now, 17% curbside, 20.8% when you include non-curbside programs. So we have a lot of work to do, and we talked about this last week with Commissioner Tisch. A lot of work to do on non-NYCHA, in NYCHA, across the board in terms of educating and engaging the population.
Yep.
So, I don't think we have a specific rate that we'd like to target. Obviously, the goal is zero waste, but any movement in that direction is productive at this point.
And just before I lose it in my brain, the question that I have is the study of NYCHA's waste going to be included, or has it been historically included in the waste characterization study? The last one and the one coming up, is that going to be a specific breakaway item?
So I know it was included in the 2017 study, and I think that was the first time in a while at least that NYCHA specifically was broken out. We are planning to do a larger multifamily study in the upcoming waste characterization study, which we will start this summer. I don't know right now if there's a NYCHA-specific breakout there, or if we're just looking at multifamily properties in general, really trying to focus our efforts on how do we improve diversion, what kinds of materials can we capture from people who live in apartments specifically compared to single-family or small multifamily homes.
Okay, great. And just while we're here on recycling, how many recycling centers in NYCHA are indoors versus outdoors?
Councilmember, they're all outdoors.
All outdoor, okay. It was on here. Okay, so, and then in terms of the ability to track the rates, it still was unclear to me how you all are tracking the recycling diversion rates.
Yeah, so I mean, to our partners in sanitation's point, obviously we need to do a little bit more we're part of the neighborhood, right? Which we're happy to be. But we've done some work on some specific programs where we can talk about specific items that, and as far as gross tonnage that we've been working on. So cardboard, right? Reducing cardboard through our cardboard compacting and cardboard baling equipment, and our mattress recycling program. We can cite some specific tonnage on that. And we hope to do some more, weighing individual bags in the program. If you'd like, I can have Al's prepping the kind of rundown of how of our different recycling programs and how that translates into diversion.
Okay, last two questions on this. In terms of organic / recycling or any of the zero waste efforts, you've mentioned Compost Power. There was mention of Inner City Green Team. Great projects, obviously, big supporter of those. I am a big supporter of those. But I have questions in terms of how are you evaluating these programs? Do you plan on doing regular evaluations or some kind of annual reporting on how it's going, how the success or diversion rates are increasing or decreasing? And then if you could explain a little bit more, my understanding is like Compost Power, does composting versus, for example, collections, and maybe it's taken away, but maybe there is some variation there. So if you could just break down a little bit, just because obviously that's not going to be sustainable in the long run to have, if we're getting higher rates, to have food waste be processed there. And so just curious to know, one, how you're evaluating the success of these programs and what frequency you're doing that, and then also the plan for, as hopefully we succeed in this overflow and more, like, obviously more sustainable plan for that.
Yeah, those are great questions. We do publish an update to the sustainability agenda every year on Earth Week. And in those updates, we do an evaluation of our programs. So please look forward to the evaluations. We have cited the tonnages of organics that have been picked up over the years from the compost power work. Inner City Green Team is relatively new, so we will evaluate and report those findings in the annual updates. And I think that we are, looking a little bit to the city to see what the Smart Bin initiative is going to yield. Obviously, multifamily recycling and organic solutions are difficult. They're difficult for our staff. So we are, doing our own work. Clean Curbs for All is one of those examples, right? The idea there is that we create a waste stream separation for the waste, for organics and recyclables that's easy and accessible to the residents. For the campus locations, again, we'll pilot the 2 locations and make sure that infrastructure is standardized, and we'll be leveraging the Campaign for Clean NYCHA and educational materials that come from DSNY to message source separation of recyclables and organics.
Okay, great. And my last 2 questions, and then I'll be quiet on recycling and organics. 1, do you have any recycling centers in senior-only buildings?
Yes, we do. We have a recycling station at every senior building.
Oh, amazing. And lastly, 7 developments were slated to have yard waste construction complete by December 31st, 2022. Are those projects on track?
Sorry, yard waste?
Yes.
Oh, waste yards.
Have waste yard construction. Sorry.
They are in the process of approval. We're moving through the procurement process. We are a little bit delayed, but I think that as soon as we're able to move through the procurement and approval processes, we'll be able to start.
And you think you'll be able to be on track for the end of, achieving for the end of the year?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all my, you wanna go?
Thank you so much for bearing with us. We realize our questions are a bit meandery, but we appreciate your patience. I'd like to talk a little bit about resident outreach and support. And obviously, again, they've been integrated into many of the comments here around the importance of engaging residents around waste management and pest mitigation. What are some of the educational efforts that are being implemented right now? And what is the budget for those efforts?
So I'll repeat again the Campaign for Clean NYCHA. I think that's our signature behavioral change campaign at the moment that we completed at 5 developments, and we're evaluating the results. The idea is to scale it across the developments. So that is one effort. We also engage on the capital projects. We do extensive stakeholder engagement on the waste yards in particular, and work with the residents on making sure that they understand the infrastructure is coming that way, understand that there will be improvements, there'll be construction work. So those are the efforts that I'll talk about, and maybe I'll pass it on to Josie and Al to talk about any of the other work that's happening in their space.
From a pest side, we are engaging the residents every time we're in their apartments. We've put together a checklist of things that residents can do to partner with us to help make sure their home is pest-free. We call it the pest-free checklist. Simple things like putting lids on dog food when you go to bed, and making sure like food is covered in general, things like that. And we use it as a kind of a jump off point for the exterminators. They give the flyer to the resident, hey, I'm here for your extermination appointment. We're doing things differently. We'll be using the HEPA vacuum to vacuum up roach shells. We are looking for holes. We'll be caulking around your cabinet. This is how to prepare for us next time. If we see pests, an automatic follow-up, as Keith said, will be created. So that's how we're trying to educate residents and kind of on that one-on-one aspect.
So you mentioned that Clean NYCHA was piloted in 5 developments. Is that correct? And you also engage on education when they're capital projects, which there are just a few. Where NYCHA is 335 developments. Is there any effort to do any consistent, systematic resident engagement, either through the TAs or not just based on, pilot projects?
I just want to make sure it's understood that 194 developments will be getting capital improvements. So that is, we'll be touching many developments across the portfolio. We've just started in a few, as you mentioned, 7 design build projects at the moment, but this will be scaling. So I think that would be an opportunity. And that's the reason we focused on creating the campaign for Clean NYCHA, so that we have an active campaign that runs in parallel with the capital investments that are being made. I'll also mention that the campaign is developed in the 5 HUD languages. It's English, Spanish, Russian, simplified Chinese, and traditional Chinese. So, we are making sure that we're doing communication in all the languages that are available. And when we scale, we would target, if there are additional languages that need to be used for translation, we would be doing that.
You read my mind. Thank you for.
And to clarify your earlier question, the contract for the campaign is roughly $240,000, but it only creates the materials and the rollout, and allows us to create the rollout plan. As we scale this rollout up, which we will be doing on completion of the pilot, we'll rely on our internal resources, which is our resident engagement department and the Department of Communications, to enhance those materials and get the message out.
I hate to do this, but could you repeat that one more time? I had a hard time hearing all of it.
Better? All right. So the campaign contract is roughly $240,000. It only creates the materials, the tests, and the rollout plan. As we scale this rollout up on completion of the pilot, we'll rely on our internal resources, such as our resident engagement department and our Department of Communications, to to scale it up for us.
And this is specifically for the
Campaign for Clean NYCHA.
Campaign for Clean NYCHA. Thank you.
Gotcha.
I wanted to follow up on something you mentioned earlier in terms of the pest management and the pesticides that are used. You mentioned that residents can go to the website and actually look at stuff I'm sure is incomprehensible because it's probably in scientific language. Are there opportunities for residents who are not connected to the web and would not be oriented that way, that they can get access to information that they could understand? And
really straightforward. But yeah, if a resident ever has any questions about what's being used in their apartment, they should just ask the pest professional. They have the label on them, and they're a professional, and they can speak to them in a way that they can ask any question.
Great. Thank you. And I think the other element to that is language accessibility. So I know you can't guarantee that any vendor or exterminator will come in with 5 languages, but that certainly is a point of concern that residents have, live access to understanding what is happening in their units.
Yeah, and Chair, just to elaborate on what Josie's saying, part of our training program also includes our exterminators and our exterminator vendors, right? We want to make sure that they're they're aware of the level of engagement that we're expecting prior to going out into the field.
And the pest-free flyer that I was saying that the exterminators give out is also translated into the different languages, and you can take a look at it. It's on our website as well.
Great. We will definitely look at it. In terms of, is NYCHA actively conducting outreach to inform residents of job opportunities that occur as a result of the waste management efforts and initiatives?
So we've used obviously some of the City Cleanup Corps as a pathway. We've hired some seasonals out of that initiative into our ranks. We're happy to follow up on exactly that number. What was NYCHA residents versus non-NYCHA residents. Additionally, I'm going to pass it to Josie to give the exact answer to this, but we have been able to get some residents into the exterminator ranks as well, and she'll kind of go through that as the caretaker to the.
Yeah, we have the resident economic development team that is always doing outreach to NYCHA residents about different opportunities, and they have this program that's like the Resident Academy. There's different tracks. There's a caretaker track. I believe there was a maintenance track, and last year and the year before there was an exterminator track, and we were able. They did a month of training on extermination. Then they had to take the DEC 7A exam. When they passed, we were able to hire them on as pest control aides. We have hired about 40 people in the last couple of years through this program. It's a program that we've done before, and it's exciting because a few of the supervisors of exterminators that are currently supervisors came on through this program about 7 years ago. I can think of 3 people. So it's a nice opportunity to get into a skilled trade.
Did you say 40 people over several years? Do you know?
40 the last 2 years. Let's see, in 2020, I'm gonna have to get you the exact numbers, but it was about 18 or so last year, and then the additional the year before.
Got it. And how are those opportunities made available to residents? How do they find out about these opportunities?
So the Reese Department does a lot of outreach to residents, but I'll have to get back to you exactly how they do the flyering and outreach and all of that.
Have you been able to track retaining? Are folks staying with these jobs longer term?
So we'd have to get back to you on exactly how long folks stay. But I think the nice thing about the caretaker through the waste management program and the caretaker in through the pest control program is that these are actually these are skilled trade. They become in the pest control area anyway, a skilled trade union job. Yep. So hopefully they're staying with us forever, but we don't have the answer to that currently. We'll get that back to you.
Thank you. In terms of how are residents informed about proper collection sites in the developments?
They're posted. Sorry. Excuse me. They're posted waste asset maps that tell where everything, where all the garbage containers are, where the recycling containers are.
And where would you find those? Posted where? In the lobbies?
They should be in the lobby. They should be prominently displayed in any location. Even above that. If there's any concerns, specific concerns that you have, please let me know.
Oh, great. I'd love to find one in Red Hook.
Okay.
I mean, in most lobbies you go into, you have like kind of about 20 different long lists, tomes of rules and regulations in very small font in ways that no one would ever read. I wonder if that is among them.
Just something that we had including in the technological upgrade, things that we have looked at and considered. I'm not saying this is, again, we have, like at Polo Grounds, we have had a digital signboard. I don't know if you're familiar, if you've ever seen it. But again, instead of having all the flyers and things to replace, it's something that's more current. It's something where it's dynamic, it could be changed, and you can actually have today's weather so people look at it, to kind of draw their attention to it. So I know we had that as one of our pilots and one of our considerations, but I agree with your assessment of, again, I've been to Red Hook East and West, several times in the last 6 months, and the amount of capital work being done, the Sandy work, is exponential compared to most. And I do, I was there recently to try to clean up as much as we can, because there's so many projects going on simultaneously, as you know. Yeah. To complete the work, they want to complete the work, and so we can move on. Things that we have done there is we've added, specifically at Red Hook, we've added, we've given them more bulk tickets. We've doubled the number of bulk tickets there because of the amount of waste had grown exponentially. Sanitation has given us additional service on the exterior compactors, of which they're actually one of the newer ones, the 2017, those compactors. But they do get a lot of use. There is a lot of garbage flowing through Red Hook. And again, the use of, I'm just off the top of my head, there's like compactor chutes, about 50%, and then 50% on the drop-off, where people drop the material off. And what happens also is, as capital work changes, right, as the ground is, one ground is given up and another one is reclaimed, and it goes in, it moves around, it creates, I agree with you, it's confusing, and I definitely want to find a better way of getting that done there, specifically for that location. It's not just general business as usual, here's your development. It's ever changing. It's so dynamic, Red Hook, that you could travel through there 3 weeks ago and you can't today. Like, it's because something has moved around. We've had to move compactors, and actually we're going to move them again.
Yep. Can I ask, in terms of, I know other developments face this, scaffolding. What we have seen is scaffolding, particularly in Red Hook, but in other developments, that is a trash collection item, and contractors not cleaning up the trash that is collected on these scaffolds. Is that something that you all have a plan to address, or is there any enforcement around that?
Yes.
I'll just quickly say that those scaffolds are required for local law 11. A lot of times, can you hear me now better? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking down because I can't hear, so I'm trying to focus.
Yeah, no, and I can't. I don't know if my voice is traveling, but I'll try again. So those scaffolds are often required for local law 11 work. A lot of times they're there almost permanently, and the contractors are required to clean around the scaffolding above. I think that the COVID-19 pandemic has changed things. There may not have been as much activity or construction on some of those sites, and they may not have been cleaning as frequently, but I believe that that has been remedied. It has come to our attention. We are working with the contractors and really pushing them to do their part that they're required to do.
Can I follow up on that one?
Yeah, yes.
Just because, before the pandemic, there might be scaffolds up for, 2 years and nobody's doing any work. So when people are throwing stuff out the window, who's in charge of cleaning that up? And at what frequency? Is it just complaint driven? if they're just up, if the scaffolds are up for years and no work's happening, it's gonna attract issues, so.
Yeah, I mean, and that's again, we agree with that as an issue, and our monitor reports and our scorecard reports include scaffold cleanliness. So while that gets processed through waste management and property management, we work with our partners in capital projects to follow up with the contractors and clean it up. There is a scaffolding contractor who is responsible for, under the GC, cleaning that stuff up. We take that seriously. So as soon as it's presented, we pass it to the appropriate contractor for cleanup.
Great. I'll just point out that whoever the contractor is in Red Hook, all of those scaffolds are filled with trash. Filled. We can talk about it more specifically
Yes.
later.
Follow up.
I think your colleague wanted to mention something. Did you?
Sorry. As far as just with all contract workers, especially the sandy sites, that it's it seems like it's going on, it goes on and on, that we want to give relief. So we've had many conversations with Capital in even recent weeks about that, just also making sure that there is access, that you need access into the fence. Sometimes fences are put up and then you want to clean it and you can't find the spot. You can't find a location. So they so these are things that were brought up. We're responsible for everything. That's our site. This is our responsibility. I just want to say that outright. I accept full responsibility for everything. On the inside of the fence is supposed to be the contractors, of which we have to hold them accountable, and the outside is everything is ours. I just wanted to clarify that.
I appreciate that. And I think we'd love to look more about what enforcement with the contractors are, because I think residents have complained in the circumstance of even Red Hook itself. And we see no relief in terms of the contractors not only fixing, doing their own debris, but we see they're very comfortable. They get enough space that they need, and yet there's not a whole lot of relief on the outside in other ways. So we could certainly follow up more specifically on the contractor there.
And we're happy to follow up on the specific of East Red Hook, East and West with you, of course.
Great. In terms of, I'm just going to pivot really quickly to actually, no. In terms of the green city, this City Green team that we've talked a lot about, that seems to be a model and people are very excited about, and there's a lot of talk about how important it is for resident engagement. How much is NYCHA prepared to support the expansion of this pilot, and I guess how much does it cost right now?
I'd have to get you the exact number, and while we're speaking, it's in a couple of $100K range for the single development. We would love to expand it, but currently this work is unfunded. I think that we want to evaluate and make sure that it is successful, as Chair Nurse was asking me earlier. And I think that once we see the results, which I hope it's a huge success, I think it's going to be, we would start advocating for dollars specific to this program.
I appreciate that. And to do the quick pivot, and then I want to call on Councilmember Brewer. In terms of the capital, what we see in this current budget is the mayor allocated its full capital commitment to RAD impact, with no capital for other work and other developments that are not slated for privatization. How does that impact waste management programs that need to be implemented and all the other developments?
Yeah, so I think we've talked a little bit about rat impact previously, but they are, the equity between the two is the same, right? We support that on from the support services operations piece and the sustainability piece of NYCHA. We support those residents, and we support any projects going on in those developments.
So I guess maybe more specifically what I'm asking is, with no new city dollars allocated for capital for NYCHA, how does that impact the waste management practices and pest control that needs to get done?
You're asking specifically in the PACT portfolio?
Well, all the money that was dedicated in this budget was specifically allocated to rat impact developments. I'm asking if the rest of the developments have no new capital allocation, how does that impact the waste management plans and goals that you set forward?
So we are, again, hyper-focused on the City Capital Action Plan implementation. That's over $500 million investments in our portfolio. In the cases where the investments overlap with transition to PACT, it will depend on timing, right? So if we are able to perform the work ahead of the transition, it will absolutely happen. If we're not able to, then we assume that the developer will pick up the cost of improving the buildings.
I'm going to piggy, and then it's my last question for the day. Sorry, Councilmember Brewer.
I think we could all ask questions. I can give you millions of them, but we'll see. I think we have to go development by development, like you said, and then figure it out. Bed bugs. I'm the bed bug queen. And my question is, exactly how are you dealing with infestations? Do you have numbers? Rats are awful, bed bugs are awful. Are they going up? Are they going down? Are you doing top, below, both sides? And I was tried, but I didn't have enough funding as borough president to get dogs. You need 2 dogs. Have you done anything about trying to buy 2 dogs?
Hi. So as of right now, we have 266 bedbug work orders that are currently open. Bedbugs are about 1 or 2% of our overall pest complaints. Our biggest pest complaint is roaches. With bedbugs, when we go in, if the exterminator sees live active bed bugs, they put on the work order, corrective action taken. They are then prompted to identify the up, down, side to side of that apartment.
They do
work
both.
Orders.
They didn't used to, but they're now going upstairs and downstairs?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a new IT fix that we've created. Anytime the exterminator puts on the work order, corrective action taken, they must put the level of infestation of the bed bug. They are then prompted to identify the up, down, side to side of that apartment. This is for bed bugs in particular. Other pests, it's different
No, I know.
infestation.
I'm talking about, I know bed bugs.
Will trigger it. So yes, they have to do the adjacent work orders. These work orders are created and then they're scheduled like any other. As far as the dogs, no, at this time we are not looking into buying
Are you
dogs for bed
considering,
bugs.
HPD has dogs, but you're considering buying them? Is that something that would be on your list? Because tenants complain, they call me from all over the place about bed bugs. You know, sometimes you don't know if they are really gone.
Right.
The only person who knows if they're really gone is that dog.
So we are doing a lot of different things with bed bugs. Dogs are something that we can look into, but we're buying bed bug mattresses. All of our Caretaker Eye shop have the mattress covers. We'll put them on and seal up the mattress, so even if they we don't see it. Okay, so I don't
know
have
all
to.
about mattress covers.
So we're getting mattress covers. The residents can get mattress covers. We have steamers. We use pesticides. We use the bed bug monitors that we put on the edge of the bed so we can see if
Okay.
it's.
All right, so do you find that your 1 or 2% numbers are going down? Are you monitoring them in some way?
Yes.
And are they recurring, or is it a unique numbers? In other words, are they recurring situations? Because bed bugs do recur.
Our bed bug infestations are reducing, and this is something that we talked about recently with even the federal monitor about how bed bugs were reducing at NYCHA. And this is something, the trend that is broader too. I think it was, but yes, so it's reducing.
Okay. I still think you should think about the dogs because it would give a lot of solace to the residents to know that it's actually gone.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brewer. I just want to acknowledge Councilmember Salamanca. Did you have any? Okay. So okay, just to keep them brief, just because we have some people in the audience to testify, but I did want to ask one final question before I forget, and it was relationship to the PAC and the capital program. So you mentioned if the capital comes and we get to the project before it goes into a conversion, great. If not, then it moves on. But what is the consistency? Because as Councilmember Faria mentioned, there aren't necessarily universal standards happening across all the developments. So there were mentions of, the bins get cleaned down. We know the bins don't get cleaned down consistently on the PAC run properties. Things are supposed to be emptied every day. They're not emptied every single day. There are porters who will leave human feces in the hallways. So what is the consistency of standards being held across all developments, whether they are managed by a private company or not? And in terms of both capital, in terms of cleanliness, in terms of services for the residents and response time, it just feels like there are two different systems happening. And when, as members, we call and you all attend the meetings, like we're on these monthly calls and monthly, WebEx meetings with NYCHA, with I'm naming Penrose, but with private management companies, with other elected officials. We have the same list of complaints, the same list of questions, the same unopened cases, and I'm just wondering, how is this going to be addressed as we have maybe trust and PAC and NYCHA and 3 different types of people managing these developments?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so to be clear, we still have oversight of PAC developments, and we work closely with our partners and those private partners, right? If there's any specific issues, like, we're happy to take them back and work on them.
But you all are on the calls.
What's that?
You have NYCHA representatives on all the calls, so the specific issues are constantly being brought to the forefront. I'm just asking for greater accountability and consistency and how specifically that's going to look.
Yeah, the expectation is that when the property transitions to PACT, they still need to be following the individual action plan that's been developed for each development. So that is the consistency that we look for. I think that some of the issues that we're discussing here are addressed by the nature of the work, the comprehensive upgrades that are happening at these developments. The walls are sealed. You don't have some of the same issues that are happening on the public housing side. So we are, again, I think time will show if the issues do subside. But I think that in terms of within the buildings, some of the issues should subside due to comprehensive work. On the exterior, we recognize a lot of the PAC properties are scattered sites, so they're standalone. A lot of them are curbside collection. As we talked earlier, the hope partially is that Clean Curbs for All is that solution for the PAC properties, and that's the standard containerization that we're all looking for. I think that as managers and as members of the public that you're representing, we all want to know that we're getting consistent treatment across the development. So I think that we are going through a transformation, as you know. You mentioned the trust. I think similar things will need to be figured out in that portfolio. But I think that, again, to answer your question, the individual action plan for each development is what we would hold the developers accountable for in the PAC portfolio.
Thank you.
And Chair, if I may, to follow up, I hate to go backwards, but the inner city green team is budgeted for $250,000 for 18 months of work. You asked the budget question previously. Just
No,
wanted to answer that. Sorry.
that'd be great, and it would be good to, we can follow up with those groups to see how far that funding actually goes into achieving everything. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Salamanca.
Thank you, Madam Chairs. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good afternoon. Pre-pandemic, in my council district, in the 17th council district, there was a piece of land that was owned by NYCHA as part of the Morrisania Air Rights property, where NYCHA was storing their garbage for the development. NYCHA decided to take that land, and I don't know if you sold it, but you gave it to Services for the Underserved to build affordable housing there. And in return, there was a plan where you wanted to take Morrisania Air Rights garbage and put it in the Jackson Houses garbage, where their president, Danny Barber, is the president of Jackson Houses. There was a meeting in my office. We stood up against that plan because, first, NYCHA doesn't pick up Jackson Houses garbage on time, and now you're just going to compound it by adding another development on top of that. And so there was resistance. And the plan, what came out of the plan was that you were going to install these NYCHA, these trash bins. I don't want to call them bins, but the where you dump the dumpsters at Morrisania Air Rights, which you did. I was there recently. And the agreement was, because you were giving away NYCHA land, that you were going to build a structure at the Jackson Houses. I guess 3 walls, right? There needed to be some opening to, so that the smell can come out. Nothing has come. I haven't heard anything about that plan. I called Danny Barber as I was driving down here, and he says, Ralph, yeah, we spoke to NYCHA. They changed their plan around, but now they need capital dollars. This is the first that I hear that you need capital dollars. And my question is, if you needed capital dollars from my office, why didn't NYCHA reach out to me to give me a dollar amount, knowing that we just passed the budget?
Thank you, Councilmember Salamanca. I understand the Jackson Houses waste yards is in the 7 original developments that are going through with the design build work, and so that waste yard is designed. I think it meets the description that you're describing. It is going to have visual screening all around. It's going to have a partial roof. It's going to have state-of-the-art equipment. We're waiting for approvals. It's going through typical OMB comptroller approval process. I don't believe at this time we need additional dollars for constructing this waste yard.
All right, so there's no funding that's going to be needed from the council to complete this project.
In the design that we're discussing, it sounds we're mutually agreeing on the design, partial screening, full screening of the site, partial roof coverage, new equipment. It should be fully covered through the city capital action plan.
All right, that sounds great. When will this project commence, the construction?
We're waiting for approvals through OMB and comptroller. As soon as we have those approvals, we'll begin the work.
All right, do you have a timeline?
I will get back to you with a timeline. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairs.
Thank you. Just to quickly segue on some staffing questions. Last year, you testified that federal money had come in to hire an additional 1,072 workers for a 6-month period to clean up the NYCHA grounds. Were all those workers hired? And can you tell us what was achieved with those federal dollars?
So I believe a lot of those federal dollars, I believe a lot of those staffing lines went to the CCC, the call center. But I'll follow up with exactly where they all went.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to getting that report.
Sorry, City Cleanup Corps, not the call center. I was reading an acronym. There's 2 CCCs. Go figure.
Got it.
City Cleanup Corps. Just want to clarify. Thanks.
Got it. Thank you. In terms of How many staffers does NYCHA have that work on pest and waste conditions? And how many of these are at local developments?
Could you repeat the last part
How,
again?
m- how, how many are at local developments?
So I'll have to get you the exact breakdown, but there's 4,619 staff who work on pest and waste management issues at NYCHA. Approximately 140 of those are in the pest control department. 33 are in the waste management department. The remainder are out in the developments. So I
Got it. We could do that.
might be wrong, but it's about 44, 50.
Got it, thank you. And what unions represent these workers?
I'll have to, it's obviously varying titles, exterminators, pest control aides, caretakers, resident building
Yeah, it's a mix.
superintendents. It's all over the
Okay.
place. So I'll have to,
We can-
we'll
we
get you
can
back with
follow
the
up.
unions, yeah.
Sure. In terms of the turnover rate for NYCHA workers, specifically, what is the turnover rate for NYCHA workers in the sanitation fields like caretakers?
It's varying. We can get you an average turnover rate. I don't have that in front of me, but I'm happy to circle back with it. Obviously, there are folks who stay here their whole career, and there are people who leave very quickly, but we'll get you that as soon as we can.
Okay. It definitely, caretakers is one that we hear a lot of, spends enormous amount of time just moving trash around developments, and I know that's something we're all working on. Is there, and chronic understaffing, I know I look at the Red Hook action plans and both say understaffed. What is the plan to address these areas of understaffing?
Yeah, obviously we're working to do consistent recruitment. For example, we use the housing exterminator title. That's on a civil service list, and we're a little bit beholden to that. But what we've been doing is similar to what Josie said a little earlier, as to bringing folks in through the pest control aid. They can still respond to complaints. There's still a technician, and then where we need to do heavily application, we'll use an exterminator who is fully licensed. But we're trying to fill those ranks so that we can respond to these complaints as quickly as possible.
Lastly, let's see, hold on, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, the resident ambassador. Can you tell us a little bit more about the resident ambassador program and, kind of next step plans for it?
Yeah, so we're using the resident ambassador program in conjunction with our vendors. So we are using 3 pest control vendors that we have very strong oversight. We have supervisors of exterminators with them every step of the way. The resident, or not every step of the way, but we QA about 80% of the vendor work that we're doing through these vendors. The resident ambassador program is an employee that is hired by the vendor, and they go 1 to 2 days before the scheduled appointment. They go, they say, hi, do you know you have an appointment for tomorrow? We're doing pest control a little bit differently. We'll be caulking around your cabinets. We'll be vacuuming. We're going to be using gel, and then the insect growth regulator, which is like a roach birth control. We have like a script that we kind of use language that, everyone, it's not super technical bug and rodent language, and we're asking, can you prepare for us? So if you see rodents or any sort of activity in your closets, please clean out your closets. If you want us to focus on the cabinets, please make sure that you have your things out of your cabinets. If it is someone that needs help, the resident ambassador will help them prepare for the appointment. And then they say, thank you very much. We have a program manager on the NYCHA side that has been going out a few times a week to shadow, to make sure that the resident ambassadors are doing what we want them to do. We get reports at the beginning of or at the end of the day. This just started in May, There's definitely been some learning curves. Like, we're making sure that the resident ambassadors get tablets so that they can record it and it's not just like paper. We're fine-tuning the script that we want every resident ambassador to use. We're making sure that they have all of the flyers in the different languages. We're going to make it better. It's not perfect right now. It just started. But we're working with it, and we think that it's a interesting and valuable program.
And where are the resident ambassadors working right now? What developments?
It depends where our vendors are.
Okay, so they flow.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not forever. Like, we've been at Kingsborough and Reed and Sotomayor. We use the vendor because the integrated pest management work that we're doing with the HEPA vacuums and the caulking and the sealing takes a lot more time. It takes us a lot more time to get through all the exterminator work orders, but we still want to provide extermination in a timely fashion. So that's why we're bringing in vendors. So we take a look at where there's the most work orders, or the oldest work orders, and that's where we schedule the vendors for.
Got it. So lastly, before we turn it over, and thank you again for your patience, in terms of, garbage pickup poses unique dangers and hazards. Maintenance workers aren't DSNY staff, and they often don't have the same training or different training. What is being done to protect maintenance workers during garbage pickups? And I personally witnessed maintenance workers trying to manage construction debris in ways that found me a little shocked. So how are we protecting workers' safety in this regard?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as far as contractor waste, I know it's very prominent in Red Hook, right, as we've discussed. The contractor is responsible for removing their waste. Obviously, our grounds folks will help because we want a clean NYCHA facility, right? But ideally, the contractor is responsible for that. Something that we're doing to, I think, improve upon that. Like I said, I drove past and through a number of developments this morning purposely because it was a garbage collection day. And I wanted to really focus in on what we were talking about today. So I think somewhere where we are going to improve and see improvement is through the creation of this caretaker's guide, right? Enhanced safety training and recycle first mindset through that guide that we're developing in partnership with the Department of Sanitation. So I think that we acknowledge that there's room for improvement, and we hope that this guide book and retraining will enhance that in our maintenance staff.
Yeah, and when I mentioned construction debris, that's like debris from probably renovations in the apartments that was just piled along with regular trash, and workers just, trying their best to get it into a collection site, but totally unequipped to deal with heavy, wooden cabinets and other things from apartments. That I've witnessed over and over again, in Red Hook in particular.
Okay. Yeah, and really specifics, I we'll take those back and we'll discuss those specifics offline.
Yeah, just in terms of safety,
100%.
Equipment, training. Most of the workers were, older women with brooms and construction debris. It just kind of defies logic. So
Unacceptable, and as we've said before, safety of our residents and our employees are paramount to us, and we want to hear those specific examples. We'll take them back, obviously, specifically at Red Hook and any other members from, specific
Great.
examples from council.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So with that, I think we'd like to turn it over to public testimony.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your time, patience, and work, and working with us to improve conditions for the public housing residents of New York City.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Vilas and Chair Nurse, for having us. It was truly our pleasure to be as transparent as possible with you throughout this process.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. So, thanks for bearing with all of our questions. We don't get these questions answered in our normal calls, so that's why we have to use this opportunity. to do it here. So I think the first up we're going to hear from is Eric Goldstein from National Resource Defense Council, who has patiently waited this entire time. We really appreciate you, Eric, and all of your advocacy for waste in the city. So as we clear out, you'll be first up. And if there's anyone else in the room who's testifying, let us know. We'll put you first. Otherwise, we had very few people signed up. Do you want folks doing testimony up here? Okay. Thank you, Eric. A true hero, a true New York City hero. Thank you.
Good afternoon to our two intrepid committee chairs and your dedicated staffs. I'm Eric Goldstein, New York City Environment Director at the Natural Resources Defense Council. Operating NYCHA with its more than 400,000 residents and more than 300 public housing developments in a sustainable manner has been a long-time challenge. We know, of course, that NYCHA's difficult operating environment has been only made worse by dramatic cuts in federal funding over the decades. And we understand that problems extend well beyond solid waste. Broken elevators, peeling leaded paint, balky heating systems, extensive mold problems, and on and on. But despite the many challenges, waste issues should not be placed at the bottom of the to-do list. And for more than 30 years since the passage of the 1989 mandatory recycling law, NYCHA management has given waste issues a very low priority, to the detriment of NYCHA residents who deserve and desire decent sanitation services just like every New Yorker. On waste issue after waste issue, NYCHA's performance has been below expectations. For example, on the core recycling program, metals, glass, and plastic, NYCHA didn't even have any recycling bins available over the decades until South Bronx resident Bridget Vicente from Mothers on the Move and NRDC threatened a lawsuit against NYCHA about 5 years ago. Even then, the bins that have been installed are inconvenient, not always emptied, and at least anecdotally, we understand that sometimes the recycling waste has been mixed with regular trash. Then textiles. Despite the availability in New York City of the Refashion New York City Textiles Collection Program, only a handful of NYCHA tenants have access to this service. Or take electronic waste. Same story. The electronic collections program run by the city, the E-Cycle NYC for buildings with 10 or more units, is free and convenient. But despite that, and the fact that it's illegal for New York City residents and landlords to dispose of electronic waste in the regular trash, the e-waste program is basically not available for the overwhelming bulk of NYCHA residents. Then there's corrugated boxes. Again, as NYCHA itself concedes, most of the corrugated is still treated as bulk waste instead of being recycled as required by city law. Food waste. Food waste is the largest single portion of the residential waste stream, and for the most part, it's still going to landfills and incinerators. As a consequence of all of these shortcomings and other poor trash handling problems, the rat population at many NYCHA developments is out of control. Rats are living the good life at NYCHA. NYCHA managers should consider these conditions unacceptable, and as the city's largest landlord, NYCHA needs to come into compliance with all of the various sanitation and health laws and regulations applying to solid waste. NYCHA's testimony earlier today was only mildly encouraging. Again, we recognize the space and financial constraints that NYCHA managers face, and we don't question the sincerity of these officials. But I believe I speak on behalf of NYCHA residents when I say we are tired of waiting. And much of what we heard today are long-term promises and extended timetables. For example, the promise in the 2019 Waste Management Plan 2.0 of NYCHA to deliver state-of-the-art infrastructure and new waste yards has moved forward in only 2 developments, the Polo Grounds and Wrangell Houses. At that rate, the system's conversion won't be completed until the next century, and the rats living in these unaddressed developments will have grandchildren. We offer 4 modest recommendations. One piece of encouraging news has been the engagement of private developers that have taken over the management of several NYCHA properties in East New York, including the Boulevard houses, under the RAD program. We urge DSNY and the Department of Health to put these private property managers on notice that they will be held to the highest standards of compliance with respect to all recycling and pest-free requirements of the law, applicable to every other multi-story dwelling, and we expect that those laws and regulations will be enforced. Second, we urge NYCHA to increase support for the fledgling pilot projects that have been initiated and have been working successfully. Here are 2 examples. Bridget Vicenti's 2017 recycling pilot in the Brownsville houses, where recycling rates have tripled. That experiment has now been expanded to 3 developments, but it needs a major build-out. And if this committee and the members of this committee have not yet met with Bridget Vicenti, you ought to meet her firsthand and see what she has been accomplishing and see the potential that exists there that has not yet been fully exploited by NYCHA. Again, Domingo Morales has this wonderful compost power project at 5 NYCHA sites. This too should be greatly expanded. And the committee should work with Domingo and his team and work with talented NYCHA residents to build out these programs so that they are more than pilots. Third, NYCHA must be held accountable. They must be held to all of the commitments in their previous sustainability plans, their reports, their testimonies. NYCHA ought to be coming back here every 6 months and give a full accounting of their compliance on their recycling and rat and rodent programs, and present evidence of the monthly NYCHA rat compliance tallies, so we know whether in fact these programs are succeeding or whether the promises are just being pushed into the uncertain future. Finally, again, in terms of rat mitigation, although we haven't had the opportunity to review the proposed legislation in detail, we support their thrust and intent, and we reaffirm our previous testimony that among the most helpful things we can do to address the city's never-ending rat problems would be to pass Intro 244, the universal curbside composting program, since among its many benefits, it will require residents and building managers to place their putrescible trash in rat-proof containers rather than easy-to-tear-through plastic bags. We have been at hearings just like this for years and years and years. And we so appreciate the fact that this new city council, with its vibrant new leadership, is calling NYCHA managers to task, understanding the challenges they face, but unwilling to accept continued delays. Thank you for your testimony, for your attention.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you as always for your thoughtful remarks and recommendations. We definitely listen, and people listen and call me and say, we got to listen to Eric's amendments, people from the administration.
Thank you very much, Chair Nurse.
Thank you so much. I think we have one other person online to testify, Allison Allen. If you're there, you can come on.
Starting time. Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Hi, at last week's hearing on zero waste bills, I talked about rats, as there had been much attention focused on our litter problem and our rat problem and overall support of waste containerization pilots. But there's very little mention that we already have this existing free food waste containerization program, the DSNY's Brown Bin program, and there is a direct correlation between litter, rats, and food waste collected in the brown bins that should be highlighted and stressed in all communications. I'm aware that the brown bin presents challenges for NYCHA, so my comments mostly relate to New York City residents overall. I support all the rat mitigation bills as they're a great step. And as council members are out discussing these bills, I hope that you all add a talking point or two about how important it is to also enroll in the brown bin program as a major part of the rat action plan. It's great to see the ask for reporting requirements from Department of Health in these new bills, as DOH could be doing much more to promote brown bins to combat rats. For example, anyone who calls 311 with a rat complaint and anyone who has received a rat violation should be told about the brown bin program and urged to enroll. The brown bin program should be promoted throughout the DOH rat portal on multiple web pages. I've asked and it hasn't been done. So I'm hoping perhaps council members can help with that. I'd like to see the Department of Health's budget allocation for rat mitigation and hope you will consider adding a request for budget details to your reporting requirements to see how much of a budget they have for individual, marketing and outreach tactics that potentially DSNY can leverage, since I'm not sure they have adequate budget for marketing and communication. Time expired. In my written testimony, I'm sorry, just a couple things. You'll see a letter sent by Department of Health to a neighbor alerting her to the high level of rat sightings in her area. That was a missed opportunity to promote the brown bins. I'll just skip to my last ask, which is an update on rat contraception measures. There was apparently a successful tactic used by MTA in the subway system in 2017, and I'd like more information on why it has not been expanded. Rats live for a year, they give birth and produce 84 offspring. Contraception may very well be more effective than extermination and is less dangerous to other animals and people. So I ask you to find out what happened to this program and see if it makes sense to reintroduce or reinstate additional pilot tests, and NYCHA would be a great place to start. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Allison. I believe that is it for folks to testify, right? That's it. Want to thank co-chair Alexa Viles, chair of public housing, and your team and everyone in this room for all your help, council, and all of the staff here in the room holding it down, and the tech folks too on the back. So thank you so much. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, thank you. I think I would just add there is an enormous amount of work that remains to be done, and I think we will absolutely follow up on the remaining unanswered questions and certainly take to heart the testimony that was given here today and those which we receive on a daily basis from residents throughout public housing in New York City. This is a critical issue. And we will continue to forge ahead to ensure that there's accountability, but that there's true level of service that residents are feeling relief and improvement around waste conditions and public housing. So thank you so much for your work and participation, and thank you again to all the staff who make this possible. Oh, and meeting adjourned.